Hello and welcome to the 375th commencement exercises at Harvard University. It is a beautiful day here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we have come together the one day of the year that all 13 degree-granting schools are in one place, and for one reason, to celebrate our incredible graduates. Nearly 8,500 of our students will graduate, and in about 90 minutes, they will transition from being Harvard students to being members of our Harvard alumni community. It is such a joy to be here in celebration with all of you as we honor the accomplishments of each and every one of our graduates. I am here today for the next hour to tell you a little bit about the rituals, tradition, history of the oldest institution of higher education in America, Harvard University. We were founded in 1636, and this is our happiest tradition. Starting in 1642, 6 years after New College, later renamed Harvard College, was founded, we graduated our first class of just 9 students. We have come a long way since those days, but many of the traditions from those early ceremonies persist, and I have been hard at work with the incredible team at the Harvard University Archives, the University Marshal, and Stephen Magro, who is our incredible director of commencement, thinking about those stories so that I could share them with all of you today. We also have some special touches. I have 2 of my former students who will be joining us today. We have, for the first time in our commencement broadcast history, a video queued up with 4 Harvard affiliates who are going to share tips for our new graduates, ideas for the future as they embark on this next chapter. In case you can't hear that, the School of Public Health is cheering very loudly at the moment, using some hand clappers. Each of our graduate schools have their own object that they carry. The School of Public Health is the only one that makes noise, which is sort of drowning everything out. If our camera crew could take a shot of the assembled graduates on the right side, I can tell you a little bit about what is happening right now in Harvard Yard, which is where we are live broadcasting from. So you'll see that one half of Harvard Yard is actually filled with students. These are all of our graduate students who have already processed over. They have come from their different graduate schools, and we'll talk a little bit about that tradition later on. We are waiting for the students to fill those other white seats. On the opposite side, those will be our undergraduates from Harvard College who are right now convening. If you pop over to camera 7, you will see them gathering around the John Harvard statue. Now, if you have been to the Harvard University campus and visited Harvard College, some of these places may look familiar. But if not, let me tell you where it is that we are today. We're in the center of Cambridge, Massachusetts, and right now we are broadcasting from the Tercentenary Theater. Tercentenary Theater is also called the New Yard, which is fortunately a little bit easier for me to say. We have used this space to celebrate our commencements since 1936 at the 300th celebration of the founding of our university. Tercentenary Theater, the New Yard, is the space in between Memorial Church and Widener Library, 2 important tributes right here in the heart of our campus. What you see right now on screen is Widener Library, the steps of Widener Library. Those are families who stood in line this morning starting around 5:30, 6 a.m. so that they could get those coveted seats sitting on those iconic steps. Widener Library is actually founded in tribute to a 1907 graduate, Harry Elkins Widener, who perished in the Titanic. And to honor his memory and his love of books, his mother actually donated the money to build that iconic building today, one of the largest libraries in America today. That is an extra special shot for me to be looking at because my family sat on those steps when I graduated with my doctoral degree here 8 years ago. I have a picture of my parents. They took a selfie on those very steps. And as I was coming in today, I saw so many parents doing exactly the same thing. Now, as we've been looking at some of the iconography of the yard, the decorations, I want to tell you a little bit about the symbols of the university, both because it's interesting to know about the history of the oldest institution of higher ed, and also because it will help you find your loved ones as you are looking at the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop up an image of the iconic Harvard shield. It will fill your screen in just a second. That is a drawing from Harvard Book 1, College Book 1, meeting minutes from the Board of Overseers where that original sketch was drawn in the early 1600s. It was lost to history, but it was rediscovered about 200 years later when we were preparing to celebrate our 200th birthday. And it was uplifted, and they decided that it would be the iconic image to represent Harvard University for the future. Indeed, that is the image that is billowing on those wonderful banners over Widener today. What we will also be able to show you on camera 2 is what is happening at the opposite end of the yard, and that is the iconic Holyoke chair. In a matter of about 45 minutes, our president, Alan Garber, our 31st president of Harvard University, will take his seat in the Holyoke chair, which is on the south porch of Memorial Church. Memorial Church is a beautiful building in the center of campus that was built to honor our war dead, Harvardians who have been killed in battle, each of whom has their name inscribed on the wall of that building. And for ceremonial days like today, the porch of that building is turned into our opportunity to have a stage with our dignitaries, campus leaders, and others who are helping us to celebrate our graduates. The Holyoke chair, I arrived early this morning and I got to see it being carried over. A man who was wearing gloves brought it over from the Harvard Fogg Art Museum where it is housed. This chair is about 460 years old, but has been in use for our ceremonies since 1770. Now, if you're looking at that chair and you're thinking, that doesn't look comfortable, you are absolutely right. That chair is notoriously uncomfortable. It's beautiful and ceremonial, but it doesn't feel so good. You'll see actually that there's a cushion on it. Derek Bach, who was our 25th president for more than 2 decades, sat on that chair, as you might imagine, many, many times. And so his mother, after hearing him complain about how uncomfortable it was, embroidered that cushion, which is housed in the Fogg Art Museum as well. So watching the curator out today, he brought it out of a great big box wrapped in tissue paper because it is now a precious object that is part of our celebration and ceremony that we have right here. And as the camera pans out, you can see that the chairs are lined up for all of the incredible folks who are with us today to celebrate our graduates. Now, what's going to happen to fill that stage is there will be a procession that comes over from the old yard, which is the cradle of Harvard University where we were founded as New College. That procession is going to be led. Oh, you can see that right now. So there is our John Harvard statue again. Those are the students who are amassing. And actually, since we have them on screen, let me tell you a little bit about how to identify who is who. Everyone in their gowns today, it can be hard to distinguish. If you are looking for somebody from the college who is an undergraduate, they will be wearing black robes that don't have very long sleeves, and they won't have a hood on. So that's your way of identifying who is an undergrad. If it is a master's student you are looking for, they will have a similar black robe. They'll have a long dangly part of their sleeve, which makes for a very good pouch for holding a hand sanitizer or a lip balm during this long celebratory day. And they will also be wearing a hood that is lined in crimson. You can see a couple of folks right in front of the statue who have their crimson lined hoods. And then you'll see a lot of folks who have puffier robes on, like the one that I have on. I have crimson doctoral robes because I graduated from one of our degree programs that was research focused. If somebody is wearing a puffy robe like this, but it's black, that means that they are coming to us from the law school or the medical school. There are some other cues that we can look for, like the color of these crow's feet, which are unique to Harvard University, something that was designed just for us and for our regalia. And the color designates which school you received your degree from. I have powder blue because I received both a master's and a doctorate from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, which was founded in 1920. Right, you can see everyone amassing there. So what is happening in the yard right now is the undergraduate students have processed over from their houses or their community, if they are a member of Dudley, and they are convening around those white pillars. They sort of look like rectangular objects to say the name of their houses. Those come out for special occasions like Housing Day, when students find out after their first year living in the Yard, which is the house or community they will be affiliated with during their time here. And so they are gathering in communities so that they can process into the Yard together. I also see that we have some students waving flags and walking already. Those are probably some of our graduate students who are still taking their seats on the right side of the stage. What you see right now, of course, is that sea of those folding white chairs. It's been amazing to watch all of the hard work that goes on behind the scenes to get our commencement ceremony ready, including folks who were wiping down every single one of those chairs so that our graduates could sit down in celebration today. On camera one, what we actually see is the beginning of some of that processing and taking those seats in the Yard. And you can see those students are wearing their mortarboard caps. Those are undergraduate or master's students. I see a blend of both because they have that rectangular hard-sided cap. If you see folks wearing the floppy velvet caps, those are called TAMs, and those are students who are graduating with their doctorates as well. It's wonderful to see all of them so excitedly. It looks like they're being cleared from the walkway as they're excitedly gathering. This is a really big moment, and let me tell you what it is that they are preparing for and preparing to do. Our commencement ceremony this morning has a couple of key parts. The first one is that it will be called to order with the ringing of the bell of Memorial Church, which is a 5,000-pound brass bell that, in honor of today's very special occasion, is actually rung by hand when our university marshal, Katie O'Dare, gives the signal. We will then have an incredibly special part of this ceremony, when Peter Katusian, who is the sheriff of Middlesex County and also a Harvard grad from the School of Public Health, will rise in his top hat and tails and cross the stage with his silver-tipped staff. He will pound it on the stage as he walks across, and then he will be asked to call our ceremony to order, which he will do in a proud, booming voice. It is a key part of the ceremony. Indeed, the sheriffs of both Middlesex and Suffolk County have been in attendance at our commencement celebrations for many years. It used to be that the celebration of commencement was a citywide event, with Cantabrigians from around the city convening, sometimes having a little too much plum cake and mead, and so the sheriffs would be here to help keep things in order. Today, they're merely here to help us celebrate the joyous occasion and to convene this event. You continue to see students who are filling the Tercentenary Theater, and you can also hear right now Fair Harvard is being played. That is one of our songs. We're getting ready to actually be joined by a special guest on our rover camera. I'm just going to cue that up. And as I do, I want to tell you a little, let's say, gap in one of our traditions here at Harvard that we are working to fill in. Here's the thing. Our friends at Yale have Handsome Dan, their adorable bulldog mascot. We at Harvard University have never had an animal mascot, at least not officially. But what you're going to see in just a moment is a picture of the first animal who represented Harvard, Sarah, the Harvard cat from the 1930s. Sarah, the Harvard cat, was found in 1931 huddled in the window of Holden Chapel, and she was adopted by our custodial and night watchman staff. She became a celebrated figure written about in the Boston Globe. We were very proud of her because she was a very good mouser. She was great at catching mice and keeping our campus safe from vermin, which was important, especially back in the day. She was sent an incredible package. You see here the article of her being honored when she was sent a little name tag to wear around our campus. And I got distracted because something is happening on camera 4, which we're going to cut to, which is our today honorary mascot of Harvard University, Sasha, our community engagement dog. You see her here in her own regalia, wearing her mortarboard. She is an exceptional member of our community. Her handler, Steve Fumicello, was given Sasha to bring into our community from the Puppy Behind Bars program. She had more than 10,000 hours of training before she came to us, and she has become just the cornerstone and pillar of campus life here. We're going to pop up an image of her celebrating at Harvard-Yale game. You'll see her pictured with President Alan Garber and Dean David Deming. You'll also see her dropping the ceremonial puck at one of our hockey games. She is at many of those events, an opportunity for us to see her and to be in moments of celebration. She is also always present for the first day of school and for our convocation ceremony. We've got a picture of that as well. Now, it's not just that she is here to celebrate the exciting days and the exciting moments at Harvard University. Sasha plays a really important role for all of us. Community engagement, breaking down barriers, and helping our students feel seen and connected. And Officer Steve is incredible in how he does that. I have seen students sitting on the lawn, patting Sasha, spending time and joining with her when they're just missing home and need that point of connection. And he's also able to point our students to those incredible resources around the university when they're struggling. And sometimes it's easier to tell Sasha when you're having a bad day. I mean, who could resist that face? In just a moment, I'm going to be joined by Dean Alicia Johnson-Williams, who's also a big fan of Sasha, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the student experience, what we're seeing right now with students processing in. And here she is, Dean Alicia Johnson-Williams. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Alexis. I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite days on campus. Seeing the excitement in the yard and just remembering what it was like to process into Harvard Yard on this special day.
So Alicia, you have graduated both from the undergraduate college and from the master's program at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Tell me a little bit, because we've been watching the undergrads, about what that is like from the moment you wake up and come over into the yard. And I know you wake up awfully early.
Yes, we do. So I was in Quincy House as a student, and Quincy House best house. But when I was there, we would wake up very early and we'd have a bagpiper march through the halls of Quincy House to wake up all of the seniors, around 6 in the morning, so we could get ready and begin that day with a little bit of excitement, a little bit of fanfare to really set the tone for what this day is going to mean.
Fantastic. So you come over from Quincy into the yard, and what is it like while you're convening around that object that we've been seeing, that sort of rectangular sign?
You know, and as you can see, there's just so much joy. There is pride in your community. It's really a culmination, a celebration of what the last 3 years that you've spent with your classmates, sometimes 4 if you were there with them in their first year.
Wonderful. So what we're going to pop up on this screen are actually the shields of the undergraduate houses, which is slide number 3, so that we can look at, and we're not going to have a debate about which is the best house, Courier, but there we have on the screen right there. Actually, those are the graduate programs. So if we could pop to the next slide, which is more vibrant, there we go. What you see there are the shields of the 13 houses and communities. Tell us which one is Quincy.
So you'll see the one on the bottom with the 7 diamonds. That is Quincy House.
Fantastic. You'll see that we have a lot of sort of animal representations on some of those slides, which is exciting. We have the 3 fish on Cabot, which is one of our Radcliffe Yard houses, one of the quad houses. They are known apparently as the 3 Fishketeers, which gives them a little extra personality. We have the oak on the Courier crest. That is a nod to the origins of the quad houses, originally housing the young women who attended Radcliffe College. So that was Radcliffe Quad. An interesting tidbit about Radcliffe. So if we go back to the other slide where we can see the additional crests, Radcliffe used to be a degree-granting institution for young women. If you graduated here and were female identifying until 1998, it was actually printed on your diploma that you were simultaneously, symbolically, a graduate of Radcliffe, which is exciting. Today, they are now the Radcliffe Institute of Advanced Study. They join with our 13 degree-granting bodies here at Harvard, giving master's and doctoral degrees to our graduate students. And you can see some of the icons there, the stripes of the Kennedy School of Government, which is actually a nod to the American flag. You can see, and behind me, right here, the Divinity School flag, which is a remarkable nod. There are holly leaves, a nod to the Hollis family that bequeathed the first tenured position in the Divinity School. And my favorite crest is actually the one from Extension. You can see it in the bottom with the blue and that sort of triangle pointing down. Right at the base of it is a little lantern, And that was a nod to both lighting the way to knowledge, but also the fact that our extension school students used to learn at night.
Oh my goodness. And it's one of those things where, there's so much history behind each of these crests and what they mean. And it's so special to see this all come together on this day.
It is. And we are, of course, graduates of the Harvard Graduate School of Education.
Yes.
And they, for us, put up our very own crest right here. It is the one that has daisies above it. Now, part of why we were showing you those icons is so that you can look in the yard and you can look for where your student might be seated. So if you are joining us from a hotel on the other side of the city or the other side of the globe, you're probably eagerly looking at where is it that my student might be seated. And so look for the flag bearing that crest and they will be seated right underneath. It seems like something very exciting is happening on camera number 7. Perhaps that is the beginning of the president's part of our procession into the yard. We'll keep our eye on that. And while we do, Alicia, tell me about your role today, because now you live in residence with undergraduate students.
I do. So I am a resident dean of Elm Yard and an assistant dean of Harvard College. And so I get to oversee about 400 first-year students who live in Grays, Matthews, and Weld, and special this year, DeWolf.
Fantastic.
And it is one of the greatest privileges of my life. And it's something incredible to see the beginning of these experiences. And so I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but I'm wearing my class of 2029 pin to represent the first-year class who will be here in just a few short years.
In just a few short years. Now, you do have some students who are graduating today. You used to work at Phillips Brooks House.
I did.
So tell us about your sparklers.
Yes. So I oversaw a program called Harvard Spark, which was one of our innovative programs to really try and engage students in public service from the moment, even before they arrived on campus. So we would work with students in their hometowns the summer before they arrived on a public service project of their choice. We trusted our students to be experts of what their hometowns needed, and we wanted to give them the support, the community to be able to do that as almost a love letter to the communities they were leaving behind as they were about to join ours.
I love that. And some of your sparklers are graduating this year.
Yes, they are. And so it's one of these things, we've seen our sparklers from the moment they start those public service projects that, those summer before they get here. And now they've done so many internships in public service. They've volunteered at the Phillips Brooks House Association. They do so many things with, the Harvard Global Health Institute. We see so many students who are dedicating their 4 years here to public service, and then who will be going on to do take on roles in public service after they graduate.
I love that. Well, this is our opportunity actually to talk about some of the students who will be speaking today, and we are excited to hear from them. So after the ceremonial opening of our events, we will have not only the singing of the America the Beautiful, the national anthem. We will then have Rabbi Getzel, who will be offering a prayer and a land acknowledgement, because we are here on the traditional and ancestral land of the Massachusetts people. But then we will have 3 student orators. And our 3 student orators have gone through quite a process, applying, going through a juried process, practicing in order to be selected to stand on the stage today and to deliver their address. And it is exciting to learn about each of them and the decision that they made to be on stage. I'm particularly excited. Noah Eckstein is giving a talk called The Punchline. He's a member of Kirkland House. He will be the English undergraduate orator, so the second person we hear from. What I found fascinating about this is he is a performer, he's a musician, so he has plenty of experience on stage. He has never given a speech in public before. And today, there are roughly 30 to 32,000 people who are just here physically in the center of campus, and many, many more watching on the live stream at home. So go big or go home. I love the enthusiasm, and I cannot wait for that talk. The first student who we have is Kiase Naynor, who I saw actually rehearsing on stage when I arrived this morning. Now, she is phenomenal. She's giving an oratory address and I'm going to just pause on that, because what you are seeing on the screen right now, we will come back to Kiese. This is the opening of this ceremony and the procession down that main walkway. You can see everybody has their phones out. They are excited. That is the Middlesex County I can't read the screen, but here we are in regalia, calling the event to order. We love to see it. Let me go back to KSA because it is remarkable what she has done. So as an undergraduate, she is both an economics and a classics major.
Oof.
She is proficient in Latin and Greek and learning ancient Egyptian.
Oh, so she had plenty of spare time.
Plenty of spare time. She's also the musical director of the Din and Tonic, so really a remarkable student.
Wow.
She will deliver her address, this oratory, in Latin. Now, don't worry, because I don't happen to speak, read, or write Latin, but it will be reproduced on the bottom of your screen as you're watching in the English translation. But she will deliver it in the original, which is really exciting.
That is fantastic.
And then our third, we've got our graduate English address. That's Andrew O'Donoghue. He is from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences and has been at Harvard for 10 years. So he will take the stage to have the final presentation of our student ceremony. And then something else super exciting happens. That is that it's time for our students to graduate. Now, what's interesting about our ceremony here at Commencement this morning is this is not the part where your students will cross the stage and hold their diploma. That happens later on today at their home institution. But they will become graduates of Harvard before they leave this yard today, which is really exciting. So here's what happens. Provost Manning gets up and he invites the deans of each of the schools to present their students for graduation. That dean recites a very particular line, and then President Garber announces each class is awarded their ceremony. And what do I see now? I see Peter Katusian, who is walking down. You can see he's very, very tall. He has a proud presence in his top hat and tails. All of our ceremonial attendees have the top hat and tails and that sort of rosetta. Peter Katusian, as I mentioned, is a Harvard graduate and the sheriff of Middlesex County. I had an opportunity to take a photo with him 2 years ago in Widener Library, and I had to climb up 2 steps just so that I could be in the picture with him. That is how tall he is.
I'm telling you, Alexis, this is my absolute favorite part of the entire ceremony, when the sheriff opens up
Tell me,
our
what do you
ceremony.
love so much about that?
There's something so grounding, perhaps, just... It's bigger than life when he steps that staff on the steps and you get to just hear it echoing across the yard, and you just have this feeling that something special is about to happen.
And something special is indeed about to happen. You can actually see a nod to some of the connections of our military heritage in the past here at Harvard University. There is an incredible exhibit right now at Pusey Library and the Harvard University Archives that is available online, celebrating Harvard's role in the founding of our country, 250 years. And we're going to pop up one of our very first honorary degrees, which was given, it seems appropriate to pop to this now, to George Washington. You can see it there. Something that is particularly special about that degree is that it is missing one important signature. So George Washington was designated an honorary degree recipient in gratitude for driving the British out of Boston. And that was a particular note of gratitude from Harvard College because we had given over our campus to Washington and his troops. They were actually quartered here in our Harvard buildings. They actually tore the doorknob handles, the hinges on the doors, and part of a metal roof off to turn those into bullets and other equipment that they needed in order to defeat the British during the Revolutionary War. And so once that happened, Harvard College designated that George Washington would receive this diploma. Now, John Hancock, who was the treasurer of the college at the time, typically would have signed that document, but he was actually on his way someplace else. It was April of 1776. He was already en route to Philadelphia, where he was going to be the iconic signer of the Declaration of Independence. Just one of those ways that the Harvard history is really connected to the history of this country.
And it's one of those things, like, as a new graduate, when we look out into the sea of these graduates, they are a part of that history. And today is that first day of them, just, stepping into this legacy.
Stepping into this legacy. I love the way that you put that. And I love seeing you step into your legacy over the past couple of years. Alicia is a former student of mine, a teaching fellow of mine. She's part of my research team. A joy to be around, in part because of how you celebrate your students. And I'm so glad to have had you with me to celebrate our students today. Stay here for 1 second. We're going to pivot over. We have a special new part of the ceremony today, which we've never had before, which is a video of advice from some incredibly special folks who are all Harvard affiliates. We're going to pop to that right now, and I will see you later today. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
My advice for you is to be a little nicer to yourself. As a former Harvard student myself, I know what it can feel like to be in that self-critical headspace, that grind mindset where you never give yourself a break. But studies show that you'll perform better and feel better if you can just treat yourself more like a friend. And so that's my advice. Give yourself a little grace. You'll be happier for it.
Hi, I'm Dory Clark, MTS 99. And if you're a recent grad, you have a competitive advantage that most people completely overlook. I've spent 2 decades studying how professionals build recognized expertise. And right now, you have something that established professionals desperately wish they had: time to learn. You have more bandwidth for that right now than someone who's been in the workforce for 20 years. So use that window. Go deep on AI tools and emerging trends in your field. That's leverage. Good luck.
Hey friends, Arthur Brooks here. Congratulations to the graduates class of 2026. I'm so thrilled for all of you and the wonderful things you're about to do in the world. I was asked to give a couple of words of wisdom. Well, you have a lot of the wisdom already because you've gotten through your degrees. The one thing to keep in mind is that you know how to do a lot of stuff, but remember that the rest of your life should be dedicated to figuring out why you're doing it. I write about meaning, life's meaning, which is the coherence and purpose and significance of it all. Don't forget to keep asking the why questions as opposed to the how to and the what questions. That'll serve you for the rest of your life. It'll give you the depth that you actually need. And your lowest moments, it'll help you remember that you're doing your work to lift other people up and bring them together. Congratulations again.
Hi, my name is Robert Waldinger. I'm a professor of psychiatry at Harvard, and I direct the longest study of adult life that's ever been done, the Harvard Study of Adult Development. And we ask the question, what makes a life fulfilling and meaningful? The simple but surprising answer is relationships. The stronger our relationships with other people, the more likely we are to live happy, satisfying, and healthier lives. In fact, the Harvard Study of Adult Development reveals that the strength of our connections with others can predict the health of both our bodies and our brains as we go through life.
What an incredible way to have members of our broader Harvard community part of this live cast stream today. And that represented members of the Kennedy School, the Divinity School, the Medical School, and the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. And we are so proud to have each of them representing our institution. While you were watching the video, I was joined by Dustin Liu. Dustin, welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. Commencement is quite literally one of my favorite days of the entire year.
I love that, and it's wonderful to have you. You came in just for today. Another former student of mine who has now been on the faculty at Stanford and at NYU. We often talk about celebrating students, and so the opportunity to do that together is really special today, so welcome.
So honored to be here.
I want to talk about a particular part of the ceremony that I alluded to when we heard the clapping plastic hands
Absolutely.
of the School of Public Health, and that is the fact that when our graduate students process over from each of their schools, they meet early in the morning and they come over, they march through Harvard Yard, and many of them carry a ceremonial object. When they are announced from stage as graduates of the university, what happens is they then wave that in the air, in the case of the School of Public Health, clack it, and we hear them going. At the Harvard Graduate School of Education, we do something special, and you had an opportunity to participate in that.
Absolutely. So Harvard Graduate School of Education graduates have a chance to choose a children's book and have a chance to wave it in the air and declare themselves as a member of our community. And at the end of the ceremony, they actually have a chance to donate that book as well. Alexis, what are some other objects objects that folks will be holding today? What can we keep an eye out for?
The medical school has stethoscopes. The dental school has great big giant toothbrushes. I think the law school has gavels that they sort of wave symbolically. And so each person has the opportunity as part of their graduating class to celebrate something symbolic about what it is that they are going to do when they leave us here at Harvard. Now, if we could pop over to camera 2, what you'll see is the stage being filled with all of the dignitaries, leaders, deans. I saw our dean, Noni Lasso. She has the vibrant blue and gold robe. You see her standing behind the podium. Now, as we are thinking about the conferral of degrees and everything that happens, we also want to mention that there are 5 degrees that are going to be given today that are honorary degrees, like the George Washington degree that we were talking about. We have 5 remarkable folks. We have Jeffrey Hinton, a Nobel Prize laureate and university professor emeritus at the University of Toronto. Sir Noel Malcolm, a political journalist and historian. We have Peggy Noonan, who is a journalist, former speechwriter for Ronald Reagan, has 5 New York Times bestsellers, and an Emmy for her role in producing a program after 9/11 that brought us together as a country. Audra McDonald, American icon of stage and screen.
Absolutely.
She has 6, I have to read it, 6 Tony Awards, 2 Grammys, an Emmy, and as of today, a Harvard honorary degree. And then our final, Conan O'Brien, who is our speaker today. If we could pop up the image of the Harvard Lampoon, we have that queued up in honor of Conan O'Brien, who has been part of our ceremonies twice before. Let me tell you a little bit about Conan O'Brien. I'm sure you know who he is, but his connection here to Harvard. He's from the class of 1985 and also a Massachusetts native of Brookline. He got a degree in history and literature while he was with us and was the 2-term, you see him right there, his vibrant red hair, crimson colored for the day.
Crimson colored hair.
He has actually served to help us celebrate commencement twice before. Once when we were online due to COVID. There have been 2 ceremonies that were streamed online when we couldn't be together in person. And once as the Harvard Class Day speaker in 2020. While he was with us, he was also the head of the Harvard Lampoon, which is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year in the iconic Lampoon Castle on Bow Street. And we are excited to hear his address today. Tell me, Dustin, what are you excited about as we look towards the end of the day?
As we look out into the crowds, I'm so excited that folks are having a chance to see the view from the stage, the sea of people here. I remember looking around and seeing the friendships that were forged here on campus. I think today is not just a day of celebration, but a ritual to really enter this family, this alumni family that we have here at Harvard, and also an opportunity for us to recognize that even though people may have had different journeys, extension school students may have taken a different path. Some folks, this might be their first time on campus. I know that you teach your OEL, your online educational leadership students. This might be their first time on Harvard's campus, but they are all entering this ritual of commencement together.
I love that. Now, the question I have for Dustin is he actually has stood on that stage and given an address to a sea of 30,000 people before. As we think about our students who are going to be doing that later today, what is that like? What do you see in that moment? What do you feel as you stand on that stage?
Yeah, Alexis, that was a great honor as a member of the Harvard Graduate School of Education to really thank the members of our Harvard community that supported us during a COVID transition. As you're seeing now, students will be standing there on stage looking out at a sea of their community and friends. I would say that I would invite them to look at those familiar faces, stay grounded, and really recognize that today is a celebration of their learning, a celebration of their community, and a celebration of what they will do in the coming years, which is inevitably going to be a remarkable journey.
And so as we think about other folks who have stood on that stage in those same where your shoes were, John F. Kennedy actually delivered our speech in 1956. We have an image of him in top hat and tails doing that. He's just one of the many luminaries who has stood on this stage and addressed our graduates. And I love this story in particular because I had the opportunity to go to the Harvard University archives and to meet with Virginia Hunt, Sarah Martin, and Juliana Cupers. And the three of them showed me some really fascinating objects of commencement. And one was the actual script that John F. Kennedy held in his hands. And what is telling about that script, there are two things. And it was about the weather of the day. Now, we are having a beautifully temperate day here in Cambridge today, which is lovely and very welcome. But on the day in 1956, when Kennedy was speaking, it was sweltering hot. And it was before we had the canopy over the stage that we have today. And so two things happened as he was sitting there waiting to take the podium. The first is he started cutting huge blocks of text out of his speech because he wanted it to go faster. Big paragraphs of perfect prose that have never been said out loud because, yeah, it was too hot. The other thing, and this is a little bit of hypothesizing, but it seems true. There are these little drops, dried drops of what the archivists believe to be sweat that was pouring off of his brow as he was sitting there in his ceremonial dress. And so not only do our speakers have to overcome the nerves of being in front of such a large audience, but sometimes the weather does not agree. That is not the case today. It is absolutely beautiful, as you can see. Now, as you'll note, there are many white folding chairs that have yet to be filled because our students are still moving into the graduate degree side of things, and that procession of all of the leaders of campus, the honorands, are still making their way to stage. But on the left, all of those white folding chairs are where our undergraduates are going to be sitting and cheering as they become a graduate of Harvard University. Now, I want to take a moment to tell you how this ceremony will end today. There is a lot of music throughout the ceremony. We have the Harvard University Band, the commencement choir. You've been hearing them throughout our morning together. There is also the bell that will start the ceremony that I already mentioned, which is right here in Memorial Church. And so they will mute our live stream. They will show you a beautiful shot of the steeple of Memorial Church, and you will hear that 5,000-pound bell being rung by hand. But something else really special actually happens at the end of the ceremony, and that is that University Marshal Katie O'Dare will call for the bell to be rung again. And when that happens, bells throughout the city of Cambridge will simultaneously chime to recognize the interdependence and the relationship of the university to the community. And that is a very, very special part of this ceremony for the last 39 years. And it is in tribute to Cynthia White Rossano, also known as Muffet to her friends, one of her dear friends was Julia Child, longtime Canterbridgian. Now, Muffet was an exceptional and important member of our commencement history, writing all of our materials, publishing them, making sure that they were letter perfect, but she also worked with all of the churches throughout Cambridge in order to bring them into this meaningful ritual. And she sadly passed away before her 90th birthday earlier this year, so this is the first ceremony that she is not a part of in nearly 4 decades. But not to worry, her daughter is here. Her daughter Penny has taken over the tradition. She will be sitting with her father, who is Ken Rossano, celebrating his 70th reunion this year. And they will be sitting on stage behind the Middlesex County Sheriff in exactly the same place that Muffet herself sat for all of those years.
What an incredible tribute.
Isn't
and
that?
Legacy.
I think, do not ask for whom the bell tolls. Today we know that it is tolling in honor of this incredible woman who gave so much to honor this celebration and this tradition that we have here in Harvard. Now, I would love to pop over to camera 1, where I believe what we're seeing right now are our faculty members who are in procession. And what's interesting as you see our faculty process is that all of a sudden the robes become more vibrantly and brightly colored, because each member of our faculty wears the robes of the institution where their degree was granted from. Some of those are more traditional black robes with very elaborate, colorful hoods. We don't have very colorful hoods here. We have got our iconic crimson, but you can see vibrant oranges, greens, purples, powder blues representing each of those institutions. for me, that's one of the extra special moments as we are watching sort of visually people coming together from around the globe. And I think we're seeing the robes of Ohio State University and Columbia University right there in the center of our screen. All of the places where our faculty did their training before they came to us. Right in the bottom lower quadrant, who you see right there is our former Dean of Students, Dean Rakesh Khurana, who had an iconic Instagram as Dean of Students, and I see him taking pictures and selfies as he walks. I would expect nothing less from him documenting this moment of ceremony. Of course, today we now have Dean Deming, who is filling that role, who has an equally vibrant Instagram, and you saw a picture of him earlier today with Sasha at one of our games. Camera 7, our roving camera right now, is showing you the bell tower of Memorial Church, partly in honor of Muffet Rossano and that wonderful tradition that is now part of our live stream and part of our history and something we hope to continue for many years to come. All right. So you can see everyone milling about on stage. Indeed, old meeting minutes talk about the fact that faculty didn't like to behave and take their seats. And I think today they're eager to take their seats and for the ceremony to begin, but we are waiting for everybody to get there. You see Stephen Magro actually at the center there. He's wearing tails, bending down right at the center of the screen. He is the director of University Commencement, and I have had the immense privilege of working with him over the years. Nobody loves this institution, its tradition, and its history more. The only thing I regret about the role he plays is because he's on stage and leading the ceremony, he can't be in here so that you don't have the opportunity to learn from him. But we do our best to channel that in the stories that he tells us, including yesterday when he actually allowed us to hold the scepter, Katie O'Dare's scepter. So Katie O'Dare is the marshal of the university, the person who oversees ceremony and moments like today, the welcoming to the university of all of the dignitaries who get to sign in a book and a desk in her office. She sits in Wadsworth House, which is actually where George Washington stayed when he was using our campus as barracks for the military troops. And as she processed in, you might have seen a silver object in her hands. That is the scepter she carries. And what is very cool when we got to see it yesterday is all along the staff are these little silver rings, and each university marshal has their name engraved on it. So it pays honor to all of the folks who have been in that role before Katie, who's so fantastic in the role.
Absolutely. Yesterday, just being in Wadsworth House, seeing all of the artifacts of the university, Alexis, what stands out to you about the ritual of commencement here at Harvard?
I think it's the families. So I have had the privilege of graduating 3 times from my beloved Harvard University, and my parents and my beloved grandmother were in attendance at several of those ceremonies. And today, having lost my grandmother, having lost my father, I look out at all of these proud parents knowing how special it is that they are here to witness this. But also, and part of why I love doing this live stream, is the recognition that there are families around the globe who cannot travel to Cambridge for any number of reasons. And I love to be able to give you a taste of this special day. Now, I can't shout out to every single person, but Melvin Lowe, who is in our cohort 3 of the online education leadership program, which we teach online, his father is watching today. And one of the things that Melvin, who was one of my advisees, said to me is that he was so excited for his dad to be able to take part in the ceremony. And so Melvin's dad, hi. And to all of the parents, families, and loved ones who are watching, it is such an honor to be able to channel some of the magic of what is happening in Harvard Yard and to tell you what's going on so that we can help you celebrate the incredible accomplishments of your students. All right, I think what we see here are a lot of undergraduates. We see this sign for Dunster, for Eliot House, who are beginning to take their seats as we get ready for the big moment to happen. I'm particularly excited by what I am seeing on camera 5 as the faculty are coming to take their seats and the dignitaries who are filling the stage. You see many of the crimson robes. Another iconic detail are these velvet stripes on these big puffy sleeves that we have here. And you can recognize again all of the hoods from the different institutions, the tassels, and that velvet floppy hat known as the tam. So, Dustin, now that you are an alum coming back and part of the Harvard alumni community, what does it mean to be able to say, I went to Harvard?
You know, Alexis, what a great question. I think oftentimes you feel a sense of familiarity when you meet someone who's also been in this ceremony, in this ritual. I found it to be such an important part of my academic journey and my community. I would say that time and time again, I'm just so amazed by what my peers are doing and by the ways in which Harvard alumni are changing the world. And to see so many Harvard alumni come back and volunteer and be part of our ceremony is just a testament to how special this community is, and more so, how important ritual is to our community.
Ritual is. So my friend Bruce Feiler actually just wrote a book about ritual that just came out this week, and I began it. It was the perfect timing to be reading it because these moments of ceremony and tradition are so meaningful. And if you're just joining the broadcast, this is our 375th commencement ceremony. We started doing this in 1642. 9 times we have had to cancel a commencement ceremony because of an outbreak of smallpox, because of the American Revolutionary War. Twice we moved it online, and so it is always extra special when we have the opportunity for our students to convene here. But Dustin, you were part of sort of a makeup ceremony so that we could have this tradition. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I had the chance to graduate in 2021 and then came back for a joint commencement ceremony with the class of 2020 and the class of 2021. What an amazing opportunity to come back to campus and properly celebrate after an incredible commencement ceremony online. I would say that coming back to campus really made me recognize and also appreciate how this is a moment that none of our graduating students will forget. This is really a core part of their Harvard experience. As Alicia was sharing earlier in the broadcast, there are parts of these ceremonies that you talk about when you meet friends, when you meet people who have also gone to Harvard University, regardless of your degree program, regardless of your school. Over the past few days, there have been graduation events all over Harvard University. Today's ceremony is an opportunity for us to all gather here in the Harvard yard together.
I love that. We have one of our presidents, our president emerita, Drew Gilpin-Faust, is joining us today. She will be seated on the stage. She is actually the person who is shepherding Conan throughout the day. Each of our folks who are receiving a degree, an honorary degree, have a point person, and Drew Gilpin-Faust, the first female president of Harvard University, is the person who will be with him. President Larry Bacow, our 29th president, will not be on stage today, but apparently he was an exceptional speaker at our Phi Beta Kappa ceremony earlier. Indeed, we have been in Cambridge celebrating graduation season for days. There have been a lot of special ceremonies, ROTC commissioning that happened yesterday. I saw great pictures of Sasha, who was at the ROTC ceremony as part of that celebration. And on camera one, what we see are students filtering in to those empty folding white chairs. Now, I graduated in 1998, and I distinctly remember those same chairs. They've probably been replaced since then, but they're almost an iconic part of this ceremony now. Now, this ceremony is taking place in Tercentenary Theater, or the New Yard, this expansive land between Memorial Church and the Widener Library. And we've celebrated commencement here since the 1930s, since our 300th celebration of the university in 1936. But our first ceremony was actually at the First Parish Unitarian Universalist, its new name, but the First Parish Church, which was the first parish church here in what we today call Cambridge. Indeed, it's part of why Harvard University is in this exact spot. When they were looking for where to start new college and to begin educating young men of the clergy, which was their original brief, they wanted to be close to that church because the person who oversaw it was such a wonderful member of the community. And so that is part of why we are here in Cambridge today.
Absolutely. Alexis, you had mentioned this academic regalia that you're seeing on some of our guests, as you see on screen right now, these hoods that they are wearing. Part of the graduation ceremony is also the hooding ceremony that they sometimes have, and I'm just so delighted to see so many of our doctoral students here celebrating their hard work throughout these last few years.
Yes, so the hooding ceremony is something that takes place at each home institution, and what's particularly special is your doctoral advisor stands up and gives a lovely speech about what it is you've accomplished, how you are contributing to the world, and then ceremonially puts the hood over your shoulders and you become a doctoral ceremonial graduate of the university, which is a very, very special moment. All of those moments where you have the chance to be center stage as a student are really sort of the benchmarks of the day. And so what's going to happen after the bells toll and after everybody leaves, after 32,000 people make their way out of Harvard Yard, they will go back to their home institution where they will have the opportunity to celebrate in these smaller ceremonies. And so this is where they cross the stage, many of them with their children. They will get their diploma, shake hands, or have a hug with their dean. And if you are watching from home, don't worry, you won't miss out on that ceremony. It's a separate live stream that you will find so that you can watch that part of the ceremony as well. That is also where we will have some student speakers. We will get to see who is being honored. You will see all of the doctoral students who are crossing as well. I have to say, commencement is maybe extra special to me because I attended my first one as a 3-month-old when my mother carried me across the stage at the University of Michigan. And here we are today. So I've been given the warning that our time is coming to an end, and we are so excited to wrap up this part of the portion because what's going to happen next, of course, is that ceremonial call to order. We'll have the ringing of the bells. The rabbi, who's the chaplain of the day, will give us our prayer and our land acknowledgement, and then each of the deans will present their students. It is at that precise moment when President Garber confers the degree from the stage, and we do this in the order of which the institutions were founded after FAS and Extension. Then we have all of the other graduate schools, and finally the undergrads. That's the moment when you can say that your loved one is a Harvard graduate, and they enter this esteemed community of alumni around the globe. We can see folks are still filtering into the yard on the live stream. It's starting to populate with these vibrant crimson robes. Of course, that is the iconic color of the university. Another interesting fun tidbit is the reason our robes are crimson is that there was a regatta race many, many years ago, and they wanted folks who are on the sidelines to be able to see which boat was Harvard. And so they picked a handkerchief that happened to be crimson and tied it on the boaters. And so we now actually have that original crimson handkerchief. They let me hold it live on air 2 years ago. It is one of those ceremonial objects of the university, along with the university keys, which are purely symbolic. They don't open the 25 gates that encircle the yard. We have more classic keys. These are big silver sort of decorative numbers, but they symbolically open the door to education here at Harvard University. And I want to mention just my favorite gate of those 25. It is a gate that as you are walking from Massachusetts Avenue into Harvard Yard, it says, "Enter to grow in wisdom." And as you leave, on the opposite side, it says, "Depart to serve thy country and thy kind." And it is a beautiful message and a beautiful reminder of what it is to be a Harvard student. It is not just about our time here as members of the institution. It is about the ways that we serve our communities when we depart. And it is an honor to be part of that tradition. That is a gate that I think many families will walk out, and many of our graduates have walked under throughout their time here at Harvard. And it is special that for some of them, well, for all of them, they've walked through as students for the last time. But next time they go through, they will be graduates departing to do the incredible work around the globe that we know that they are going to do. And it looks like we're still live, which is lovely. We've got a little bit more time before the tolling of the bells. Again, University Marshal Katie O'Dare is the one who will make the call. She's the one with that wonderful ceremonial object with the silver rings. Katie O'Dare was our former Dean of Students, and so students are at the center of so much of what she does, centering tradition and ritual. And right now, oh my goodness, that was a sea of crimson robes, and now we are back on stage watching the folks mill about. If we could pop back over to camera 1, you can see the students who are sitting there quite patiently. One of the things we tell our students at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, because we bring books as our ceremonial object, is I always tell them to bring pens so that when they are sitting for sometimes an hour and a half waiting for the ceremony to begin, they can write notes to the students who will receive, we have a guest, our students who will receive those books, which are actually given as a donation. So the Harvard Graduate School of Education collects all of those books after they've been part of the ceremony, and they are shipped around the globe, donated to schools and libraries. And so that moment of sitting there and being able to write notes to the children who will read those books from those seats in Harvard Yard on a day like today is extra, extra special. That sea of mortarboard hats, we don't see as many decorated today as I'm used to in the past. Sometimes students will decorate them to make it easy to see. And because all of those students have hoods on, we know that they are master's graduates, that those are not our undergraduates. And we've got some folks from Dunster House there as well. Let's pop back over to camera 6, where you can see students amassing in their regalia, filling those seats. We see some of them staying nice and hydrated. We see lots of photographs being taken. It's such a joyful part of the day to scroll through social media and to have the opportunity to see all of the photos of these smiling faces. Some of the work that I do here and that you have helped me as one of my research assistants over the years and my teaching fellow is that we talk about the reality of how hard it can be to be a college or university student. On days like today, it's hard to remember sometimes those moments, but our students have fought really hard to achieve what it is that they have done today. Through adversity, through triumph, through all of those moments of, can I do this problem set? Can I write this dissertation? But today is the day when the answer is yes, you could and you did. And we are excited for all of them in now less than about 25 minutes for that pronouncement to be made from stage that they are now a member of the Harvard alumni community. Pop over to camera 1 for me. I love seeing that sea of crimson robes. What's been fun over the past couple of days around Cambridge is that so many people have been participating in the different ceremonies that people have been in full regalia wandering around the streets of Harvard around Cambridge. Also at MIT, where they have sort of a silver robe. And so it's been just extra festive in the streets. It makes you think of the time in the 1600s when the whole city turned out to eat plum cake and drink mead in celebration of the scholars and their graduation. I just love to see that. And you see it is getting a little bit warm in the yard. It is toasty under these robes every year. There used to be a rule that you were not allowed to wear your silk pajamas underneath. That is now an ancient rule. There is no rule as to what you can wear underneath. Many students have white dresses, dress shirts. Others have shorts wanting to be comfortable or other business attire. They will, of course, be on their feet walking around all day as we continue the celebration. On camera 2, you can now see the view from the stage looking back at the iconic Widener Library with those Harvard University crests. Now we're back on the stage itself. You can see the folks who have the top hats on and those pink rosettes. Those are members of our Happy Committee, our alumni who have dedicated their time, their emotion, their passion to supporting our graduates and what this day is all about. Had the opportunity to speak with them last year, and it was such a joy to see how meaningful it is to them to help to celebrate our undergraduates and our graduates. Again, this is the one day of the year that students from all 13 of our degree-granting schools are in one place, where we have the one singular mission of coming together to celebrate the accomplishments and achievements. There we have a member of the Happy Committee. You can see the red hat and the red rosette, and we've got folks who are, of course, taking pictures to document the special day that we are having as well. I also want to mention Rosie Rhines. Rosie Rhines is age 79. She is, I don't know officially, but I believe, our oldest graduate today. And there was a wonderful write-up about her in the Harvard Gazette. She is from the Harvard Extension School, went back to school to get her degree. Her daughter actually works at the Extension School and encouraged her mother to do that. And so at age 79, she too will be receiving her degree today. Now, you've worked with Extension School students.
Absolutely. I've had a chance to be an instructor at Harvard Extension School. And what an amazing opportunity to have working professionals, to have folks from around the world be part of our degree granting programs. It's been so fun to learn from them. I've had a chance to meet several of our students, even been in the yard today on the way in the hotel I'm staying at, actually right next door, is an extension school student who is graduating today. It just adds to the richness of our Harvard community and the learning that they bring to us as well.
I love that, and I love that we are graduating our third cohort of the Online Education Leadership Program today. These are students who live and learn around the globe, who are career embedded. My first time getting to do this live broadcast, we had two members of the very first OEL cohort with us, Kamal James and Dr. Adam Pearson Milano. And it is exciting to know that a Harvard education is not only bound to those who are here in community with us physically, but that we can bring this education to the world. Indeed, our motto at the Ed School is learn to change the world, and it's beautiful to see the work that is being done in that way. We can't wait for our students to graduate later today. They will then join us in Radcliffe Yard, where we will have our smaller ceremony, as all of the schools will do across the university. On camera one, you can see many members of the Happy Committee looking quite happy to be on stage as the countdown begins to when our ceremony starts. We will wrap up at roughly 12:15 with the ringing of the bells, although we seem to be a little bit off schedule today, so it might be a little bit later than that. But if you're anywhere around Cambridge and you start to hear bells ring, you will know that was the moment that our University Marshal, Katie O'Dare, called for the end of our ceremony and celebration. So Dustin, tell me what was it like when you sat in the seat and Dean Bridget Terry Long at the time announced that you were a graduate of the university?
Gosh, there's just so much excitement in the room. You have a chance to see all of your classmates around you. You have the chance to explore what it feels like to be a Harvard alumni. We're in a situation where you are surrounded by people that you've met over the time that you've participated in your degree program. You've had a chance to meet these folks that you may not see for a bit of time. I know that at least our graduates from the Harvard Graduate School of Education are going around the world. They're having a chance to bring their learnings to different parts of the world, to different communities, and that has really allowed us to recognize that today is a joyous occasion, and for some folks, also a goodbye. Having a chance to say goodbye to friends that they've made over the past few years is certainly bittersweet, but to know that even in my class, I am still very good friends with people like Alicia, who you met earlier in this broadcast. My own partner I met here at Harvard. It really just continues on. The community that you build here certainly is not just here for your time as a degree student. It continues on and on.
I love that. I should mention that even though it is called commencement, so commencement used to be the beginning of going out into the teaching profession, and so commencement met in September. They moved it to the spring to recognize the fact that many of our graduates are going into many different professional disciplines, not just educators, but they kept the name commencement because it honors the fact that this is the beginning of the next exciting chapter for many of our graduates. Of course, some are continuing on in graduate schools, others are joining the workforce, the military. We have many directions to go. Some of our students, even one of our student speakers today, will be continuing on in physics to continue to get his master's degree here. And many folks like Alicia and myself loved being an undergrad here so much that they come back to be part of a master's program as well. You can see just the sea of people, and what's interesting in this shot that you have on camera is you can see so many of those doctoral robes on the left. You can see so many of those black robes of our undergraduates on the right. Those students who have the crow's feet on their lapels, the undergraduates will have white, designating that they're part of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. The other colors on the crow's feet come to mean different things. So we have powder blue for the Graduate School of Education, purple for folks at the law school, recognizing the fact that it used to be the royal purple kings and queens who would decree laws, green for folks who are at the medical school, representing the medicinal connection in the olden days, using plants and herbs in order to cure folks. Now, what I see on screen right now are members of the Leverett House community. Students are very excited, posing for their photos, wearing their stoles, getting ready for the moment that President Alan Garber, our 31st president of the university, to decree that they are now graduates. They were here in the yard yesterday for class day. That was a previous celebration, and so we had the opportunity. We were here in the recording booth just doing a dry run, making sure everything was set up. And so we had this opportunity to stand on stage together and look out at the sea of families who were celebrating on class day the accomplishments of the young people who are about to embark on this exciting next chapter. You can see some folks have very smartly brought umbrellas with them today. Now, we often, more often than not over the past couple of years, have had rain on this day. Today we don't. We just have a beautiful sunny sky, but those umbrellas, I think, are coming in handy for people who are huddled underneath. Always smart of folks to bring their sunglasses when they're sitting under. That's something that we tell our students as well. So as you see those umbrellas, don't get worried. It is a beautiful sunny day. In fact, just a little too sunny for sitting out there. And of course, our graduates are not under that canopy that is covering the top of Memorial Church. You see right there, those are TAMs, those are those velvet hats. That's a symbol that tells us that that is a student who is graduating with their doctorate today. Although they have been called doctor since passing their dissertation defense, for some of them probably many weeks ago. You can see the excitement there as well. We've got lots of folks milling about on stage, so much so that I can no longer see the iconic Holyoke chair, but we know that it is there. President Alan Garber, if we, I don't think we have a shot of him, but when you do see him, you will notice that his robes look very different from anybody else's, not only on stage, but throughout the entire field of higher education, his robes are unique. This is a button-front cassock that is modeled after 17th century puritanical dress as a nod to the origins of New College, later Harvard College, and later today, Harvard University. They're quite beautiful robes that have been worn by each of our presidents. They all get their own, of course. For those of us who have our regalia, we bring it out usually just once a year for this week to celebrate. Otherwise, they're often hanging on the back of our office doors or at home, all zipped up to keep them safe. Regalia is a bit pricey to purchase, and so we like to keep it safe in between the big events. What's been fun this morning, and I saw this happen to both you and Alicia, because you were wearing your regalia, people were just on the street saying, congratulations, congratulations. And of course, you have graduated years ago now, but just having the regalia on and that celebratory spirit and that idea that people just want to fet you, that this is such an exciting day for all of us. It looks to me like they are starting to seat the folks on the stage, which might signal that we're getting close. Conan O'Brien on camera 2 was just posing for a selfie with one of the folks on stage. You can see now President Alan Garber, who is in that Holyoke chair. I have to tell you, as a former art history major, it was so exciting to see the curator carrying that chair in his gloved hands today. And there's Conan on screen smiling away. You can see that he has the blue on his crow's feet lapels. Something also interesting, as he poses for many more selfies, if you have a degree that is given to you as an honorary degree, your crow's feet actually have 3 little decorative elements as opposed to 2. So that's another way that we can read the regalia. And there is Conan taking his seat. He is done with students asking for selfies. Conan O'Brien, of course, the host of Late Night with Conan O'Brien since 1993, our former head of the Lampoon for 2 years. He was also a writer on Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons. One of the other folks affiliated with Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost, was in Cambridge a couple of weeks ago to come to the university archives. They put together a very special exhibit about the 150th Lampoon celebration in that Lampoon Castle on Bow Street. And it's extra special that in a year when we are celebrating the Lampoon, Conan is going to give our commencement address. I am especially excited to hear what it is that he has to say. Pop over to camera 2 and you'll see President Garber in his unique robes of Harvard University sitting in the Holyoke chair, sitting on that pillow that was embroidered by President Derek Bach's mother. I love that little detail, and you'll see coming close to the podium is Katie O'Dare, our university marshal. Again, she is the one who will call for the ceremonial ringing of the bell that starts our ceremony. She is then the one who will ask the Rabbi Getzel Davis to offer the land acknowledgement and our prayer. our university will call the ceremony to order again with Peter Katuzhin, the Sheriff of Middlesex County, in an important, and as we heard, Alicia's favorite part of this ceremony, as he takes his silver-tipped staff and clanks it across the stage. He will hit it 3 times in recognition of the moment, and in a deep, booming voice, I don't even know where it comes from, he will say, "The meeting is called to order." And that is a moment that, as you heard Alicia describe, is a memory that many people have for decades to come. He, of course, has not been doing it for decades, but we have always had a sheriff as part of the ceremony calling us to order. Another change is that the sheriffs used to ride in on horseback, but they don't do that anymore. With 32,000 people in the yard for today, adding horses to the mix is just a little extra complex, and so we no longer have them as part of the ceremony. You can see President Garber is going through his folio, looking at the remarks that he will be delivering to our graduates today. It was exciting. I was unable to be here in the live stream last year. My mother-in-law was ill, and so I was with her, but I was watching the live stream, and it was wonderful to see that moment of celebration and the way the students were supporting him in that moment. You can see, I can imagine him looking out at the sea of students over whom he leads and makes decisions every day, and to see them come together closest to him in Tercentenary Theater, and in the distance, their family members sitting on those steps at Widener Library. It is an important, not just ceremonial role, but strategic role that he plays in leading the university as our 31st president. I haven't seen Drew Faust, President Drew Faust, but I do know she's sitting on stage with us today. What I hear being sung is Fair Harvard, which is a wonderful song that is sung at many of our celebrations. It has been adapted and modified over the years, but that is our signal that our commencement broadcast is likely coming to a close. I want to thank you again for spending time with us this morning. It is one of the most incredible things that I get to do. Such an honor, not only to be with my former students, Alicia Johnson-Williams and Dustin Liu, to center the work of Sasha, to have our 4 incredible affiliates share their video, and to share my love for this incredible institution that has given me so much. Thank you all for joining us today. It is a joy to celebrate your soon-to-be graduates.
Mr. Sheriff, pray give us order.
As the High Sheriff of Middlesex County, I declare that the meeting will be in order.
Please stand if you're able for America the Beautiful to be performed by Sanjana Rajagopalan, Harvard College Class of 2026. Please remain standing for the Chaplain of the Day, Rabbi Getzel Davis, to open the exercises.
beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy God with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy God with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy God with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Harvard University is located on the traditional and ancestral land of the Massachusetts, the original inhabitants of what is now known as Boston and Cambridge. We pay respect to the people of the Massachusetts tribe, past and present, and honor the land itself, which remains sacred to the Massachusetts people. Can you feel it? When you walked through those brick gates only moments ago? Smell the sweet morning air. Hear the laughter of other graduates. Feel the warmth of your loved ones' embraces on this once-in-a-lifetime day. Friends, when the final words are spoken here, you will never be the same. There is only before and after. But what do you see? What lies above those gates you passed through, perhaps now for the last time? I invite you to see them anew. That familiar Harvard seal that is everywhere and that will soon be embossed On your degree, you know its design. 3 open books with faces out towards the world with simplicity and boldness, saying veritas, truth. But look again at those gates. Not all the stonemasons carved the same seal. Some of them bear an earlier version of the 3 books, where only 2 are open. While the first 2 books are fixed with the permanence of past and present, a 3rd volume lies face down. This represents the unwritten future waiting for each of us. In my own Jewish tradition, we pray to be written in the Sefer HaChaim, the book of life. This is not a passive task. We write the book every day through our choices and reflect on how we do at year's end. Now, truth is not something we write alone. We each own part of it. But veritas is communal. Look around. We write together with others, honoring each other's voice and acknowledging the fingerprints of our ancestors, families, and communities. I bless you with these final words. May you find the courage to turn over that 3rd book of Veritas. May you remember that as long as there are blank pages left in it, there's always room for a plot twist, a new chapter, a second chance. May you write a future that our world needs, a future rooted in relentless pursuit of veritas, but let it be a truth that heals rather than divides. And may you live in such a way that a future Harvard graduate will sit in this very yard studying the truths that you brought to this world as they contemplate the potential of their unwritten pages. Congratulations to the class of 2026.
Please be seated. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, family and friends, champions and supporters. Welcome, members of the class of 2026. Today, we celebrate your achievements. soon to be graduates, there is no doubt among those assembled here that you will continue to achieve great things. We know that your contributions to communities across this country and around the world will make us proud. We know that you will continue to distinguish yourselves as you add luster to our legacy. We know these things because we know you. Knowing you is no small matter. I want to begin by acknowledging all of the people across the university who taught and mentored you, who encouraged and supported you, who created the conditions in which you could thrive. There is no accounting for the number of individuals whose work, seen and unseen, made your experience at Harvard everything that it was. Please join me now in thanking the many members of our community, here and elsewhere, for their unwavering dedication to you. We trust that you will proceed from these festival rites with confidence in your abilities and purpose in your hearts. We trust that the excellence you have demonstrated in your academic endeavors will persist throughout your lifetimes, and that you will continue to bring honor and joy to your families, your communities, your alma mater. You have met the challenges of our times with determination, dignity, and grace, responding to the legitimate concerns of our critics with principled action. You've embraced opportunities to disagree constructively, listen generously, and speak freely. You've explored ethical, religious, and spiritual issues together as part of our interfaith initiative. You've built bridges across the university, undertaking projects that create spaces to encounter and understand different perspectives, that use film to spark challenging discussions, that bring people together to nurture pluralism, mutual respect, and empathy. By connecting with one another, by strengthening our community, and by championing academic freedom and open inquiry, you have fortified this great American university, reminding so many of the myriad ways in which this institution helps people discover more about themselves, about one another, and about the world, and creates hope for us all. If, in the years to come, you are given the opportunity to stand on principle in defense of teaching and research, in defense of curiosity and discovery, in defense of the highest heights of understanding to which human beings can hope to rise, we know that you will. Since 1636, Harvard has kindled the flame of humanity's potential to grow in knowledge and wisdom. We have lit candles and lamps and torches and carried them in every imaginable direction to light the way to new ways of thinking and doing. We have pushed into the endless frontier with infinite resolve, illuminating the quantum world as well as the unending cosmos, solving the mysteries of the mind as well as the body, exploring what it means to be human across time and space. Now, as ever, the flame burns brightly at Harvard. Free and open inquiry must be protected and nurtured. The unfettered pursuit of knowledge, veritas, must be protected and nurtured. Because truth without liberty is a fire without air. Our cause is just, our principles are worthy, and our contributions to the common good are vital. This moment demands of us ongoing vigilance and unyielding effort as we continue to defend the university and its ideals. I have no doubt that we who are duty-bound to our alma mater and to her motto, Veritas, will rise to meet our day as the good people of Harvard have done for generations. Thank you, and congratulations.
Latin salutatory, Harvardianus esse, to be a Harvardian. Candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Classics and Economics, Chiese Nanor.
Praeses Garber, clarissimi decani, doctore sapientissimi literatissimique, alumni alumnaeque tam honoratissimi, amici familiaresque, carissimi sodales, awete! Maximas gratias vobis ago, quod in hoc campo adestis, ad hanc diem celebrandam. Ad sto in his rostris ut apud vos orationem habeam lingua prisca eheo, quae tamen gravi memoriae sono aureae resonat. Rogatis fortasse cur hac die festiva, ut amor lingua tam antiqua. Plurimus quidem e vobis me non intellegere scio, et iam si video vos capita ad nurere, dum interpretationem lingua barbarica legatis. Sed responsum meum simplex est. Haec lingua quamvis antiqua est, velut universitas ipsa, non tamen mortua. Per quator prope saecula nos discipuli professores comitesque carissimi in hunc campum, hunc lucum convenimus, ut victoriis nostris gaudeamus, maiores respiciamus, denique in iter perenne Harvardianum ingrediamur. Ergo, advenio hodie, inter imagines oratorum multo insignorum, unum quaerens, quid est Harvardianus esse. Multi hanc rem per historiam nostram diseverunt, quidem veram naturam collegi Harvardiani scire fingunt. Illi dicunt collegium Harvardianum quandam officinam esse, in qua discipuli in operarios industrios mutentur. Aliquero praesertim in quadam urbe quae novus portus vocator, susurrunt collegium Harvardianum vim diabolicam esse, quod fletus assiduos agat, et ciat quotanis lacrimas novas, nihil dico de proximis quatturannis, eheo. Decet fortasse unum e nobis audire. Johannes F. Kennedy dixit, to be a Harvard man is an enviable distinction. Tam dissertus. Etiam nunc undique clamor surgit, qui postulat, quid sit esse Harvardianus, et cur haec gens ipsa, hic populus, haec omnia ut itadicam Harvardiana tanti honoris digna sint. At ego in hac societate ipsa responsum invenire credo, collegium Harvardianum non in saxis librisque, sed nobiscum ipsis consistere. Oportet nos hanc veritatem cognoscere. Vidi nos hoc officium suscipere in risu conterbernalium, in sermonibus laboriosis, quamquam confiteor, nolite audire, carissimi parentes, me semel aut bis dormi visse, mea culpa. Atque hoc officium video hodie in vultibus vestris. Anima Harvardiana, amicis preceptoribusque in amplexu huius almae matris nostrae culta, dum abeamus crescit. Hanc animam laetitiis simplicissimi sensi, silenti sacris bibliothecae vidinerianae, expectato reditu veris, cum sol gelida itinera calefacit, fine duritissima Cantabrigia hiemis, clamoribus magnis ea die quanuntiatum est cui domui nos attributi foremus, certe nullus clamor maior illo leveretensi, euge! Esse vero Harvardianus est unus e nobis esse, nos quamvis alieni anima huius universitatis sumus, hinc oritor nomen Harvardianum, hinc oritor honor. Censeo me animam illam perspecturam esse iterumque, quinque decem viginti, vel quinquaginta annis, cum russus conveniamus ad hunc lucum, corporibus fragilioribus, sed unanimo corde. Nunc ergo, vos oro, ut res clarissimas gesturi, haec vera teneatis. Memenerimus tempora, jocosa tristiaque, quae hic experti sumus, et super omnia amicitias nostras, ut cum russus conveniamus, noam vitam anima Harvardiana possedeat, et nos ipsi revivescamus. Usque ad illa tempora comites dulcissimi, hic advecti et hinc diversis varis que viis profecturi, avete atque valete.
Senior English Address, the punchline. Candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts in Physics, Noah Eckstein.
My life begins with something that could be the start of a joke. And it goes like this. A Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew walk into a bar. I know historically the setup is a little bit dicey, but this time this time was a little bit different. This time, the Christian married the Muslim, and they had a daughter. That daughter grew up Christian until she met the Jew, converted to Judaism, married the Jew, and had a son. 22 years later, that son is standing here with all of you graduating from Harvard University. I am a proud Jew. I'm also the proud grandson of a Christian and the proud grandson of a Muslim. But that isn't a contradiction in any sense of the word. It's proof of a concept, and that concept is what I want to talk to you all about today, because my family taught me something I think this world could really use right now, which is that the counter to division isn't necessarily agreement, it's understanding. Our world today, all the way from the global stage to right here at Harvard, has been split into two sides. There are two sides to every story, of course, only two sides. Two sides to every conflict, argument, disagreement. Good and bad. Give and take. Right and left. Progressive and conservative, capitalist and communist, oppressor and oppressed, rich and poor, US and China, US and Russia, Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Palestine, Israel and Iran, US and Iran, US and Israel and Iran. All in binaries. At least they're presented to us in terms of binaries. Here's this issue. What do you think? What side are you on? Come on, where do you stand? Who do you stand with? In my family, well, my family wouldn't exist with that kind of approach. My grandfather's one, a Pakistani Muslim who grew up in the middle of the Indo-Pakistani War of 1947. The other, a Jewish refugee of the Holocaust, met many times over the course of their lives. As you might imagine, they disagreed on a great many things. And yet, one of the main memories I have of them growing up was seeing them sitting together at a coffee table, discussing everything under the sun. And when they weren't in close proximity, I remember hearing their voices over the phone as they called my parents, always remembering at the end of each call to ask about the other, how they were doing, what were they up to. Of course, there are many differences that they never resolved, but still they acknowledged each other, they cared for each other, they stayed in contact, and they debated with each other. Their vast disparity in life experience, viewpoints, ideology, faith, and beliefs. A point of contention, yes, but not a point of division. And yet, somewhere in between their generation and ours, something in the conversation shifted. The debates got louder, the noise got louder, the listening stopped, it got harder. On the news, on your timeline, at the dinner table, people speaking without listening, people arguing, having already decided their own allegiances, people debating not to listen, understand, or to learn, but to win, to humiliate, to be right. And somewhere along the way, the person sitting across the table stopped being a person and became an obstacle. Now, some would say that there are in fact people in this world for whom understanding is neither owed nor even worth the attempt. People whose very irredeemable actions or beliefs place them beyond the reach of dialogue. People who indeed have become nothing more than obstacles to the greater good. And maybe that's true. Well, my grandfathers survived the atrocities of war and worse, and they knew better than anyone that people can do monstrous things. They also knew the most terrifying fact of all, which is that the people doing those monstrous things, they were human. Not forgivable, not necessarily redeemable, but human, terrifyingly so. And it's precisely because of that human capacity that understanding them mattered. Dialogue still mattered. Not necessarily dialogue in the sense of extending grace or providing a platform, but again, understanding. Asking, how did they get to this point? How did they reach this conclusion? Why do they believe this? Asking these questions in this context holds a light up to the darkest parts of what it means to be human. And as such, we have to grapple with them. But such questions, necessary questions, important questions, are not only reserved for the darkest parts of human history. If such questions of understanding, why do they believe this? If such questions of understanding matter that much at that extreme of humanity, how much more do they matter for the people sitting around you right now? For that family member at Thanksgiving that you stop bringing certain topics up around. For that person on the internet that says things from a viewpoint that seems kind of unimaginable sometimes. For that student in section that you smiled at once and said, interesting point, and then went back to your dorm and complained about to your roommate. Or for that one friend that you started to phase out because they said some things once that just didn't sit quite right with you. Take about 8 billion of those people, put them together, and you get our world. Many of us who come to Harvard have dreams of changing the world, of leaving an impact. But you cannot change a world that you refuse to understand, to talk to. You cannot convince someone of something if you do not understand them first. Peace through understanding can survive conflict, while peace through agreement lasts only as long as everyone keeps agreeing. In most cases, understanding is difficult. Sometimes you have to fight for it. Sometimes you have to fight yourself and your own beliefs first before you can truly achieve it. It takes effort. My grandfathers knew that, but they chose to try anyway. So, as we all go out into an increasingly troubled world and divided world, I want to leave you all with one simple practice. Whenever you meet someone you disagree with, state your case, yes. Stand up for what you believe in, absolutely. But also, ask the other person about their beliefs. Ask them how they got there. Place yourself in their shoes and ask, why do I believe this? Listen like you might be wrong. That is not a weakness or betrayal of your own ideals. That is the hardest and most important thing you can do in a world that is constantly telling you, pick a side. I told you my life begins like a joke. Well, my Muslim grandfather was buried facing Mecca. My Jewish grandfather was buried in accordance with Jewish law. My Christian grandmother was buried with the cross. In a way, the punchline never really came. There was no resolution to the setup. They were all very stubborn, and they held on to their own ideals and traditions until the very end. But still, they respected each other, they chose each other, and at the end of the day, they were proud to be of one family. Look around you right now. Look at the people around you. The person to your right, the person to your left. You're sitting now amongst people of every belief in every background. A family that we have built over the years here at Harvard. Do we agree on everything? Ask the section kid. Will we ever agree on everything? Certainly not. The world beyond these walls, it has all the same disagreements, the same differences of opinion, the same divisions that we have. But I urge you, see the people in your class for who they are as people. Fight to understand them and their beliefs just as much as you stand up and fight for your own. And after you walk through the gates of this yard for the first time as Harvard graduates, do the same for the people of our world. Because in a time this complicated and this divided, understanding and a genuine willingness to look a little bit deeper is how those divisions start to heal. Thank you all, and congratulations to the class of 26.
Graduate English Address, Losing Our Education. Candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and Political Science, Andrew O'Donohue.
Believe it or not, this is my 10th year at Harvard. I've been here. I've been here so long, my parents don't even brag anymore. In my decade at this university, the most important thing I've learned is about the promise of a university, of a place where we have the freedom to ask questions, rethink the status quo, and learn from one another. When I was an undergraduate here, I interned for the US State Department in Turkey. One night that summer, I watched as tanks blockaded a nearby bridge. Turkey's military was staging a coup attempt. When the elected government prevailed over the coup plotters, I saw citizens celebrating the triumph of democracy. At the same time, I saw thousands of people arrested as the president abused emergency powers to purge judges and imprison opponents. In the aftermath, I couldn't stop thinking about two questions. Why was democracy in danger? And what could we do to protect democracy? I came back to Harvard as a graduate student because I had this problem I needed to solve. At the start of my PhD, studying political science, I received a grant from the US government. With support from the National Science Foundation, I had the freedom to spend a full year interviewing judges on high courts in both Turkey and Israel. Those interviews gave me new answers to my questions. They sharpened my focus on understanding why courts defend democracy or undermine it instead. I discovered that even independent courts sometimes damage democracy. I learned that judges depend on allies, on protesters, public officials, and people like us to take decisions that protect democracy. Now, when I'm not agonizing over democracy, I love going to the gym with friends. One day last spring, I was at Hemingway Gym with my friend Brandon, a PhD student in chemistry. On that day, I saw a look of pain on my friend's face, so I asked how he was. My friend had lost his grant. As the government pulled back funding, his chemistry lab, which studies the basic science used to make medicines and clean energy, was facing deep cuts. I went home from the gym feeling upset for my friend, only to find out that my grant also had been cut. We all came to Harvard with our own goals, dreams, and passions. Now I had to ask myself, would we still have the freedom to pursue our education? Would we still be able to research, teach, and learn without the foundational support of our government? In that moment of uncertainty, Harvard rose up. Even if the government would not fund my research, Harvard would, at least temporarily. Harvard defended our rights in court. Last fall, a judge in Boston ruled that the government's efforts to take away research funding violated our rights to free speech and due process. My friend's grant and my own were restored. And today, my friend Brandon and I will graduate with our PhDs. You know, Brandon and I actually have a lot in common. Chemical science, political science, it's basically the same thing. Right, Brandon? As we all celebrate this milestone, I am grateful to my friends, my teachers, and my family for supporting me through every challenge and triumph. I am grateful to Harvard and to a judge in Boston for protecting our research and our rights. I'm grateful to so many of you here for believing in the promise of education. Today, that belief in higher education is under fire, and universities are facing questions. In my time at Harvard, I have felt conflicting emotions. And I have wondered, are universities truly for all of us? Are universities protecting our rights to speak, learn, and protest? Or are universities teaching students to be silent? At Harvard, I've also been a student worker and a member of our union, and I've wondered, are universities treating their workers well? We must engage with all these questions. That's the purpose of this place. At universities, we ask and engage with questions. We view feedback and failure as opportunities for growth. The past few years have put the ideals of our university to the test, and Harvard did not get an A. Our university must do more to protect academic freedom and free speech rather than restrict them. Our university must improve its efforts to support students from different backgrounds rather than pull back. Above all, we must speak up for the promise of the university, even and especially when we fall short of that ideal. Look around you in this yard at the people gathered from around the country and around the world. Don't we all feel in awe of the ideal of the university? Before I go, I want to connect the dots between my experience at this university and my work on democracy. The vitality of our universities and the health of our democracy are not disconnected. They are deeply intertwined. Both our universities and our democracy depend on our freedom of speech. In my time at Harvard, too many of my friends have felt afraid. Many of my friends are international students. They feared that taking a leadership position or attending a protest would put them at risk. Many of my classmates are young scientists. They felt scared that if they signed a petition, they could be rejected for government grants. When students self-censor, when professors fear being punished, when scientists worry that research funding is allocated based on politics, our universities will not produce the next great artist, doctor, scientist, educator, lawyer, entrepreneur, public servant, or innovator. When students, teachers, and university leaders are afraid to speak, we lose the freedoms at the heart of our democracy. Our universities and our democracy depend on one another. We must speak in defense of both. Graduates, may we never stop asking questions, rethinking the status quo, and learning from one another. May we live up to the promise of our education. Thank you.
These addresses by selected candidates for ordinary degrees being ended, the deans of the several departments will now introduce to the president and fellows and to the board of overseers, in the favoring presence of family and friends here assembled, the candidates who have completed their studies toward varying degrees. I now recognize the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences.
Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, in the name of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences and by its authority, I have the honor to report on 4 groups of candidates who will be presented to you today. First, the Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences will present candidates for a degree of Doctor of Philosophy and Master of Arts. Next, the Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences will present candidates for the degree of Master of Science and Master of Engineering. Then, the Dean of Continuing Education and University Extension will present candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Liberal Arts and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies. Finally, near the close of these exercises, the seniors of Harvard College who are candidates for the first degree in arts or sciences will stand proudly before you. The candidates of each of these groups, by vote of the faculty, fulfilled the requirements for their degrees for which they are severally recommended. I salute all of these individuals, trusting that they will forever wisely enjoy the freedom that their education has given them, while bearing the responsibilities for the their learnings demand on them. Each of these groups will now be introduced by the deans responsible for the programs in which they are enrolled.
As Dean of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, I invite the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy to rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these scholars, all of whom have devoted themselves to the rigorous pursuit of advanced study and made original contributions to knowledge in their several fields of scholarship.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, and in recognition of your high academic achievements, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, welcome you to the ancient and universal company of scholars, and entrust to you the free inquiry of future generations. Congratulations.
I now invite the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences to rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these candidates, all of whom have achieved an important scholarly milestone in their respective disciplines.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degree of Master of Arts and certify that you have surmounted with distinction an important stage of graduate study. Congratulations.
As Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, I invite the candidates for the degrees of Master of Science and Master of Engineering to rise. Mr. President and the Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and the members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have achieved an important scholarly milestone in engineering and applied science.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degree of Master of Science or Master of Engineering, and affirm that you stand ready to address societal challenges through foundational science with translational impact. Congratulations.
As Dean of Continuing Education and University Extension, I invite the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Liberal Studies and Master of Liberal Arts in Extension Studies to please rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have demonstrated their ability, curiosity, and drive as purposeful students and scholars.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and recognize your worthy achievements as committed learners. Congratulations.
I now invite the deans to continue the introduction of candidates for degrees.
Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers. As Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, it is my honor to report today on two groups of candidates in the fields of medicine and dental medicine who have fulfilled the requirements of the faculty for the degrees for which they are recommended. They will be introduced to you by the deans responsible for the programs in which they are enrolled.
As Dean of the School of Dental Medicine, I invite these degree candidates from the School of Dental Medicine to rise. You're already up. Stay rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have devoted themselves to the study of dental medicine and to improving health and quality of life.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are ready for practice and research in a demanding branch of medicine. Congratulations.
As Dean of Medical Education, I invite the degree candidates from the medical school to rise. Mr. President, Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have dedicated themselves to the relief of human suffering and prepared themselves well for a life of learning and service in medicine.
On behalf of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are ready to advance an honorable and merciful calling. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Divinity, I invite the degree candidates from the Divinity School to rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have pursued programs of religious and theological studies in preparation for careers as leaders in scholarship and vocations of service.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are well prepared to foster the health and vitality of communities of faith, to further scholarship in religious studies, and to help in shaping the shared values of the broader society. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Law, I invite the degree candidates from the law school to rise. Mr. President and fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates, each of whom has pursued a degree in legal studies toward the end of advancing justice and promoting the rule of law.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are ready to aid in the shaping and application of those wise restraints that make us free. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration, I invite the degree candidates from the business school to rise. Mr. President and fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have mastered the study of business administration and prepared themselves to be leaders who will make a difference in the world.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are ready to lead people and organizations and enterprises that will serve society. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Design, I invite the degree candidates from the Graduate School of Design to rise. And as you do so, I encourage you to pause and take note of the design of Tercentenary Theater, an outdoor room whose ceiling is formed by the canopy of trees and whose walls are formed by the buildings of Harvard Yard. Mr. President and fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, and members of the governing boards of overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who have pursued studies to imagine and construct a better world through research, planning, and design.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare your competence to lead in shaping the spaces in which we live. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Public Health, I invite the degree candidates from the School of Public Health to rise. Mr. President and fellows of Harvard College, Madam President, and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these candidates who have pursued studies to provide leadership, advance knowledge, and improve the health of population and communities.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are well prepared to generate and utilize knowledge to improve health throughout the world. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Education, I invite the degree candidates from the Graduate School of Education to rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates who will change the world through education.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are well prepared to guide and serve the learning needs of contemporary society. Congratulations.
As Dean of the Faculty of Government, I invite the degree candidates from the School of Government to rise. Mr. President and Fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these degree candidates, each of whom has pursued studies to provide leadership in public service.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies toward the degrees you have pursued and declare that you are well prepared to serve as public leaders and to improve public policy and administration throughout the world. Congratulations.
I now recognize the Dean of Harvard College.
As Dean of Harvard College, I invite the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science to rise. I recognize with special pride their chosen representatives and the candidates for those degrees summa cum laude. Mr. President and fellows of Harvard College, Madam President and members of the Board of Overseers, I have the honor to present to you these candidates, each of whom has pursued studies toward the first degree in arts or in science. Each candidate stands ready to advance knowledge, to promote understanding, and to serve society.
On behalf of the members of the governing boards, I commend you on completing your studies for the first degree in arts or in science and welcome you to the Fellowship of Educated Individuals. Congratulations. By virtue of the authority delegated to me by the two governing boards, I now confer the following honorary degrees. The provost will introduce the candidates.
Last year, when our first guest gave one of Oxford's most prestigious lectures, he was introduced as the cleverest man in Britain. In 2014, in recognition of his distinguished contributions to scholarship, journalism, and European history, he was knighted by the Queen of England. This came as no surprise to his classmates from his school days at Eton. As one of them recalls, we were all in awe of his intellect, even then. He studied at Cambridge and did his doctoral thesis on Thomas Hobbes, a pillar in the pantheon of early modern philosophers. He has gone on to become one of the Academy's foremost authorities on Hobbes, his magnum opus, Leviathan, his letters, and myriad aspects of his life and work. In addition, our guest stands among the world's eminent historians of the Balkans, having written influential histories of Bosnia, of Kosovo, and of the Albanians. What's more, he is an expert on the centuries-old influence of Islam and the Ottoman Empire on Western political thought. And as if that were not enough, his scholarship also encompasses such subjects as the late Renaissance Archbishop Marco Antonio de Dominis, the 20th century Romanian composer George Enescu, same-sex relationships in early modern Europe, and the interplay of human rights theory and state power. A senior research fellow at Oxford since 2002, he spent much of his early career in journalism at The Spectator and then The Daily Telegraph. And as someone committed to engaging with primary sources, both written and human, he is said to have learned more than 15 different languages, both modern and ancient. In the words of a colleague, with every element of greatness, he has become even more courteous and humble. He is above all a civilized man. We welcome Sir Noel Malcolm.
A polyglot polymath of arresting erudition. He has illuminated the labyrinths of Leviathan, elucidated the interplay of Islam and the West, and plumbed the Balkans' tempestuous past. Noel Robert Malcolm, Doctor of Laws.
When she was around 10, she was inspired by the charismatic appeal of a notable Harvard graduate from the class of 1940, then a candidate for President of the United States. She bought 2 goldfish from Woolworths and named them Jack and Jackie. In 5th grade, when a teacher expressed concern about her seeming neglect of homework, she explained that she'd been busy distributing bumper stickers for the Kennedy campaign. After working her way through college at Fairleigh Dickinson, she took a job in Boston at WEEI Radio. She later spent several years writing radio commentary for CBS News anchor Dan Rather. After working her way through, in 1984, she left journalism for government to become a special assistant and speechwriter for a different charismatic president, Ronald Reagan. She played a principal part in crafting some of his most memorable speeches, including his remarks on the tragic explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger and his farewell address to the nation. Perhaps best known is President Reagan's address at Normandy on the 40th anniversary of D-Day. The air was filled with the crack of rifle fire and the roar of cannon, he said of the fierce battle. And with 62 surviving veterans sitting before him, he said, "These are the boys of Pointe du Hoc. These are the men who took the cliffs. These are the champions who helped free a continent. These are the heroes who helped end a war." Beyond her memorable work for President Reagan, she wrote speeches and coined indelible phrases for George H.W. Bush during his 1988 presidential campaign. After leaving government, she emerged as one of the nation's most prominent and widely read political and cultural commentators. Her first book, What I Saw at the Revolution, vividly chronicles a pivotal time in American government. Since 2000, her weekly column in the Wall Street Journal, Declarations, has offered insights on politics, culture, and American life. Early in that decade, she won acclaim for her series of moving reflections in the wake of 9/11. In 2017, she was honored with the Pulitzer Prize for Commentary. She was cited, and I quote, for beautifully rendered columns that connected readers to the shared virtues of Americans during one of the nation's most divisive political campaigns. She has published 10 books in all, underscoring such virtues as civility, integrity, dignity, and patriotism, for bringing plentiful points of light to the nation's civil discourse. We honor Peggy Noonan.
A bountiful fount of felicitous phrases, who'd rather our nation be kinder and gentler, a canny opiner with an eye to what's right, whose declarations embrace patriotic grace. Margaret Ellen Noonan, Doctor of Laws.
As an undergraduate at King's College, Cambridge, he set out to study physics. But the complicated math gave him pause, so he took a break after his first year. He worked at a few jobs, read a lot of Dostoevsky, and briefly contemplated a career in architecture. Then he returned to college and tried out physiology, then philosophy, then psychology. His younger self would have been amused to imagine that decades later, he would be recognized not only with a prestigious Turing Award in computer science, but also with a Nobel Prize in physics. He is best known for his leading role in laying the foundations for modern artificial intelligence, and more recently, for highlighting its risks. For decades, most AI experts focused on how machines could better model the human capacity for rule-based logical reasoning. But our guest took the road less traveled. For him, the path to progress lay less in simulating step-by-step logic and more in discovering how computers could model human intuition. His perseverance revealed the power of artificial neural networks, computer systems that learn to recognize patterns by being shown a vast array of examples. Inspired by the working of neurons in the human brain, these neural networks drive much of today's artificial intelligence. They underpin its potential for transformative advances in science, medicine, industry, and other endeavors. A longtime professor at the University of Toronto and a former vice president at Google, he is not only a founding figure in artificial intelligence, he has also emerged as a forceful expositor of the near and long-term risks posed by AI. In recent years, he has urged that these risks receive urgent attention from governments and international organizations, and he has underscored the imperative of intensive research to address the potentially profound consequences of creating digital beings that are more intelligent than ourselves. For his role in advancing the promise of artificial intelligence, as well as attending to its perils, we recognize Geoffrey Hinton.
Perseverant progenitor of transformative technology, now a herald of its myriad hazards. He has both enabled neural networks and warned of their powers with a deep intelligence, not at all artificial. Geoffrey Everest Hinton, Doctor of Science.
As the song goes, some people can thrive and bloom living life in the living room. That's perfect for some people, but not for our dazzlingly talented next guest. After she graduated from Juilliard, not everything was coming up roses. She was turned down for an ensemble part in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. She recalls being devastated at the thought that she couldn't even get cast as a piece of flatware. But soon another chance came, and she did not throw away her shot. She auditioned for the revival of the classic Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Carousel, with no real expectation of being cast. Midway through her audition, she fainted, but her remarkable talent still managed to shine through, and her star turn in Carousel led to her very first Tony Award. In the decades since, she has not let her golden chances pass her by. She has won more competitive Tony Awards than any other performer, 6 in all. And she's the only, right? And she is the only person ever recognized in all 4 acting categories, both lead and featured roles in both musicals and dramas. In 2025, Time magazine called her our greatest living stage actor. She has inhabited roles as varied as Billie Holiday and the Mother Abbess, Gypsy's Mama Rose and Porgy's beloved Bess, Carrie in Carousel and Sarah in Ragtime, Blanche in A Streetcar Named Desire, and Ruth in A Raisin in the Sun. And her voice, that captivating crystalline voice, it has propelled not only her historic career in theater, but also her brilliant work on concert stages and in the recording studio. Beyond the stage, she has lit up screens both small and large as a reproductive endocrinologist, as a high-powered lawyer, as Aretha Franklin's mother, as a wealthy Gilded Age pianist, and even as a flamboyantly operatic, enchanted wardrobe. She has an Emmy to go with her 6 Tonys, her pair of Grammys, and the National Medal of Arts. A dedicated philanthropist, she is co-founder of Black Theater United, as well as an advocate for at-youth risk, for immigrant families, and for members of the LGBT community. We honor an artist whose renderings of the great American songbook give voice to the American dream. Audra McDonald.
I see his face, I hear his heartbeat, I look in those eyes, how wise they seem. Well, when he is old enough, I will show him America, and he will ride on the wheels of a dream.
I see his face, I hear his heartbeat, I look in those eyes, how eyes they see. Well, when he is old enough, I will show him America, and we will ride on the wheels of a dream.
We'll go down south, and see your people.
See my folks.
Won't they take to him like cats to cream? Then we'll travel on from there.
California, or who knows where,
and we will ride on the wheels of a dream. Yes, the wheels are turning for us, girl, and the times are starting to roll. Any man can get where he wants to if he's got some fire in his soul. We'll see Justice Sarah and plenty of men who will stand up and give us our due. Oh, Sarah, it's more than promises. Sarah, it must be true. A country that lets a man like me own a car, raise a child, build a life with you. With you. Beyond that road, beyond this lifetime, that car full of hope will always gleam with the promise of happiness and the freedom he'll live to know. He'll travel with head held high, just as far as his heart can go. And he will ride, our son will ride on the wheels of a dream.
With her heavenly voice and her will to lift every voice, she has climbed every mountain in stage, song, and screen. An inspiriting performer with the toniest of resumes, whose artistry and ardency propel the wheels of dreams. Audra McDonald, Doctor of Arts.
The long-legged bird, known as the ibis, was an object of veneration in ancient Egypt. For reasons obscure to the rest of us, the ibis is also the mascot of the Harvard Lampoon. Our final guest, in his college days, ruled the roost in the habitat of the Harvard ibis, and in the wider world of humor and popular culture, he has long since taken flight as an object of veneration. He graduated as valedictorian from nearby Brookline High School. He recalls his youthful self like this, and I quote, "It takes a bunch of years just to figure out what the hell is going on. Am I an athlete? No. Do the girls go crazy for me? No. Am I a math whiz? No. Am I a tough guy? Oh God, no." And then he recalls, "I hit this thing. I could make people laugh." After high school, he took up residence on this side of the Charles. When he wasn't ensconced in the Lampoon Castle, he lived in Mather House. And he studied history and literature. His senior thesis was hardly a harbinger of his future in comedy. His thesis readers were treated to a scintillating opus entitled Literary Progeria in the Works of Flannery O'Connor and William Faulkner. Now, disproving the dictum that Flannery will get you nowhere, he soon landed jobs as a writer for a sketch comedy series on HBO, then for Saturday Night Live, and then for The Simpsons. By 1993, just 8 years out of college, with both his prospects and his pompadour on the rise, he was named to succeed David Letterman as the host of his own late-night talk show on NBC. His 15-plus year run at late night was followed by a not quite so long run on The Tonight Show, followed by more than 10 years as host of another late-night show. Over decades, he has won devoted audiences and won over critics with his original, irreverent, subversive, self-effacing, often absurdist brand of humor, at once zany and brainy, silly and cerebral. In more recent years, he has become host of a chart-topping podcast, the star of an acclaimed travel series on TV, and the reigning host of the Academy Awards. He has a shelf full of Emmys, almost as full as his shelf of awards from the Writers Guild of America. In 2025, he was inducted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame and awarded the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. At the Twain Prize ceremony, a colleague captured his reputation crisply. "There's no one faster, and there's no one nicer." The son of a distinguished Boston lawyer and an eminent Harvard professor of medicine, he recalls that his father, an expert in infectious diseases, once offered a diagnosis of his son's career in comedy. "Oh, I see," his father said. "You are making a living off of something that probably should be treated." It's a happy thing for all of us that medical science has yet to find a cure. We honor Conan O'Brien.
A humane Harvardian hybrid of harlequin and highbrow, whose reverence for irreverence is irrepressible and irresistible. Long a late-night luminary, now a decorated doctor for whom the best of medicine is a dose of laughs. Conan Christopher O'Brien, Doctor of Arts.
All right, now that we've got that sorted out, let me add one further note. Conan O'Brien was many things while in college, but a varsity athlete he was not. I know. It is therefore with pride and a due sense of irony that we honor him with a fitting further distinction. Dr. O'Brien, to recognize your stature as one of the Ivy League's all-time most valuable players, we hereby confer on you the title of Harvard's own honorary late-night letterman.
In the name of this Society of Scholars, I declare that these persons are entitled to the rights and privileges pertaining to their several degrees, and that their names are to be forever borne on its roll of honorary members. It is now my privilege to invite one of our honored guests to address this assembly. Graduates, family members, colleagues, friends, let us welcome Dr. Conan O'Brien.
Thank you. Welcome, trustees, deans, faculty, alumni, graduates, families, my fellow honorands, Justice Department spies, and that Uber Eats driver delivering mimosas. As I look upon this gathering of tomorrow's greatest minds, I'm confident saying there is no less flattering outfit than the cap and gown. We all look like the potions professor at Hogwarts. Up here on stage, it feels like an AA meeting for druids. I want to thank President Garber for his incredible stewardship of this graduating class. Fantastic job, sir. Really nice. Really nice. Normally I would give you an A+. But in keeping with upcoming Harvard policy, I'm adjusting your grade to a C-. Trust me, it's for the good of the school. I will keep my remarks brief because MIT's graduation is also today, and I want to give you a 15-minute head start on your job hunt. Those nerds down the river won't know what hit them. Also, just a quick announcement after the ceremony. Tequila shots are on me at the Porcellian Club. Yeah. You're all invited. Just force your way inside and tell them Conan sent you. They're an understanding bunch. As we gather here today at this beautiful Tercentenary Theater, I am struck by one thought. Only someone from Harvard would call this patch of grass a Tercentenary Theater. Just look at this yard, Percival. 'Tis a veritable Tercentenary Theater. Harvard, why use a $5 word when a $50 word will do? It's really nice to be back at the very last place I used the word querulous in a sentence. Standing right over there by Widener, I asked someone, what does querulous mean? Fortunately, they knew the answer because it was a Yale student. Man, they're good. Oh, please, please, let us not denigrate our fellow Ivies. Let's admit that all 7 are worthy institutions. Except for Princeton, those people are absolute tools. What the hell's going on over there? Yeah. As I stand here, I'm flooded with so many rich memories of this campus, and especially of my dear beloved Mather House. Yeah. Yeah, that's enough. Mather was named after former Harvard president Increase Mather, who was an infamous figure in the Salem witch trials. And if any of you spent more than an hour in Mather House, you know the witches got the last laugh. It's such an ugly building. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's tear it down, start again. All right, here we go. Of course, we all make jokes about our school, but Harvard is still our nation's oldest and most renowned seat of higher learning. And today, you are the 375th graduating class. Yes. Did you know that the first graduating class in 1642 had only 9 students? Yeah. And somehow, even they were all legacies. That's hard to do. No university in our nation has produced more Nobel laureates or white-collar criminals. So whether you choose good or evil, know that you are among the very best. Harvard is indeed an impressive place. Today, this university honors 13 esteemed colleges, and I salute all of you, each and every one. Now, of course, don't push it. Of course, this includes the Harvard School of Dental Medicine. Yes. Yeah. And let me tell you something. When Harvard dentists say you may rinse and spit, they say it in Latin. I wasn't going to do that joke, but the dental school said they'd give me free veneers if I gave them a shout out. No, I take my assignment today seriously, and in preparation for this speech, I asked the Provost's office for intel on all your concerns. And I was told the following. You're obsessed with doing laundry now that it's free. You bemoan the lack of fresh berries. You're upset that not all the dining halls have hot breakfast. Yeah. And you're alarmed that the Kennedy School has stopped providing complimentary coffee. Yeah. If these are indeed your concerns, you sicken me. Half those complaints are things you'd hear from a brown bear. More berries! Before I continue, there is one thing I must acknowledge. For your entire academic lives, you have been lectured to by lots and lots of old white men. And now, when you are minutes from getting out the door, Harvard is saying, not so fast. We found one more. He graduated 41 years ago, and he's not just white, but shockingly white. Indirect sunlight, you can see his bones. Well, I may be old and white, but let me assure you, I still fit in seamlessly with the long list of Nobel laureates, heads of state, and civil rights activists who have given this commencement address. Now, sure, they did great things, but only I play a talking, potty-training gadget named Smarty Pants in the upcoming Toy Story 5 in theaters everywhere on June 19th. Did Winston Churchill do that? He did not. Former German Chancellor Angela Merkel? Well, she did audition, but testing showed she frightened children. Yes, I graduated 40 years ago, but I promise you, your lives here were no different than mine was in 1981. Like you, I too had to put an extra long cord on my dorm phone so I could cook my lean cuisine while talking to my friends about Mr. T. Like you, I know the pain of losing my place on the Ms. Pac-Man leaderboard because I was too busy buying an erase cartridge for my Smith Corona typewriter. Yes, we are all bound by these ancient common truths. Now, of course, I understand the unprecedented difficulties you face today, including AI. Yeah, I know. Luckily, AI is not a problem at Harvard. Here, professors have been able to quickly flag students' use of AI thanks to the sophisticated AI software they use to grade papers. It all works out. Yeah, and don't worry. Despite your fears, trust me when I say AI cannot replace you. Yes. It'll be too busy replacing those creeps from Princeton. Anyway, of course, perhaps the biggest issue facing this institution is that the federal government of the United States is suing our university. Yeah. Many people think I've come today to defend Harvard. Well, sorry, those people are wrong. Not only am I not against these lawsuits, I'm here to announce that I'm joining them. I, too, am suing Harvard. I'm suing Harvard for the cast iron bunk bed that greeted me upon my arrival at Hallworthy 16 my freshman year. A bed that has since been confiscated by The Hague as an instrument of divine cruelty. I'm suing Harvard for allowing me to sign up for a 9 a.m. class at the Science Center and a 10 a.m. class down at Soldiers Field. For God's sakes, I was a child! I'm suing Harvard for my less than spectacular undergraduate sex life. For me having a three-way meant adding a second mirror to my dorm. I'm suing Harvard because once I had to listen to the Harvard Crocodillos do an 8-minute rendition of Splish Splash, I Was Taking a Bath. My God, each one took a solo, and it was awful. And finally, I'm suing Harvard because, and this is absolutely true, in the spring of my sophomore year, while trying to grab a quick lunch at Adam's house, I was served a meal called Captain Ben's Fish Spaghetti. To this day, I have no idea who Captain Ben is or why someone would combine government-issue cod with spaghetti. Harvard, I'll see your ass in court. Yes, I'm confident that my claims will have more merit than those filed by the President of the United States. Yes. As you are aware, the current administration feels Harvard admits too many foreign students, and who knows, they may have a point. After all, what has any foreigner ever added to our American culture? With the possible exception of music, literature, art, cuisine, fashion, architecture, dance, scientific breakthroughs, and the core of our moral codes and ethical beliefs. Seriously. If foreigners hadn't gummed up the works, right now we'd all be listening to delightful Calvinist reggae, eating savory Church of England ziti, and dancing the forbidden and sexually charged Lutheran lambada. But let me assure you, I did not come here simply to toss off some jokes about my alma mater. I mean, that was the main reason. But I really do love this school. It changed my life. The day I told my bedridden grandmother, a woman who had never had the opportunity to go to college, that I had been accepted to Harvard, and seeing her weep is one of the happiest days of my life. Of course, it turned out I was sitting on her leg, but I knew in addition to the pain, she felt real joy. And I felt joy as well, especially when I sat here at my commencement in 1985. I really understand how much hard work it took for all of you to get to this point. And you should feel enormous pride, just as I did. On my commencement day, I was content if my Harvard degree was the first thing people knew about me. But what I have found, after all these years, is that I am fine with Harvard being the last thing anyone knows about me. This is not a diss on this institution in any way. I just believe that status, even when it's hard-won, can be double-edged. When I started my career hosting a late-night talk show, there was no internet. The only thing the media knew about Conan O'Brien was that he went to Harvard. That association may have been fine if I were a burgeoning philosopher or physicist, but for a comedian, that was a death knell. People thought the name of my show would be Late Night with He Thinks He's Better Than You, which I would have gone with, but it didn't fit on the shirt. All these years later, Harvard is far, far from the very first thing people think of when they hear my name. I have made 10,000 hours of content, and none of it screams Ivy League education. That's right, I'm the man who went on Hot Ones and rubbed hot sauce on my nipples. I shopped for weed with Kevin Hart and Ice Cube. I got drunk in an American Girl doll store. I've done many things no man should do, and all of this was before I became a Pixar potty training toy. Now, some of you may think, well, that's comedy, Conan. How does that apply to me? And to you I say, how dare you interrupt? I'm giving a commencement address. Yes, my challenges were unique to me, but I found that any single achievement, like a Harvard diploma, becomes less important to me in all the very best ways when I embrace certain principles. The first is that I endeavor to always remind myself that I have done absolutely nothing alone. Walt Whitman wrote, "I contain multitudes." Well, I contain a breakfast sandwich and an iced coffee from Tate, but whatever I have achieved has been with the help of an infinitely packed clown car of multitudes. If I could invite everybody, alive or dead, who has contributed to my being your commencement speaker today, all of Cambridge and half of Alston would be crammed, shoulder to shoulder, with friends, family, well-wishers, writers, producers, haters, fans, and a billion chance encounters. Recognizing that my accomplishments are not just my own has given me much-needed ballast throughout my life, and it really helps to spread the blame around when things go south. Another thing I learned to do that has saved me repeatedly is to pivot. I have had to course correct so many times in my career that my path is a crazed tangles of zigs and zags. I famously lost a job that meant the world to me, and then years later, I saw the entire format of late-night television, something that I had dedicated my career to, start to evaporate. So at the suggestion of a very smart friend, I started a podcast. I actually had disdain for the project until, with the help of guests, collaborators, and an assistant addicted to gummies, I made something I loved just as much, if not more, than my late-night show. I have had to pivot like this so many times that I've come to really love pivoting. And I use the word pivot much more than I should in conversation and commencement speeches. And now I pivot to my next truth. I always recognize the enormous role of luck in my life. Refusing to see how luck has played a role in anyone's success is simply ignorant. Many people are happy to mistake a lucky poker hand for their own brilliance, and fighting that human instinct has kept me sane. I honestly believe that community, spontaneity, and a real commitment to humility has helped me build a rich life that means much more to me than any diploma. And believe me, I'm not saying the goal is to renounce accomplishments, but rather to metabolize them. If you carry your victories lightly, other qualities, kindness, originality, courage, humor, and humanity have room to emerge. Maybe, maybe the greatest lessons I've learned along these lines have been through my 24 travel shows. I have degraded myself in Cuba, Ghana, Korea, Armenia, half of Europe, Argentina, Thailand, Mexico, and Greenland, where I visited a real estate office and tried to buy the country. When I travel to another land, every quality I have discussed, community, adaptation, and a sincerely humble approach are all necessary. When you don't speak the language, no one truly cares where you went to college, and you have no choice but to make friends. It's on these travels that I learned a great lesson. Let yourself be bad at things. I have been a bad dancer in every country I have visited. But the people laugh because it turns out everyone everywhere is related to at least one terrible dancer. For me, humility on these trips can easily lead to humiliation, which is also a useful tool. 3 weeks ago, I visited Amsterdam, dressed up as Van Gogh, and forced my way into the Van Gogh Museum, where I started loudly demanding a cut of the merchandising because I made no money during my lifetime. Guards forcibly ejected me. I was roundly mocked by patrons for my pathetic display, but I did see a lot of smiles, and not one person said, "Now that's a Harvard grad." In Tokyo, I met with a teacher of Japanese etiquette who volunteered I wasn't her type. And when I asked her why, she just said, "Face." In Ghana, after accepting a royal invitation, I was kicked out of the Ashanti Palace by the Queen Mother because her favorite soap opera was starting. I understand that I am preaching modesty and connection at a time when this is not in style. We are living through a period of extreme narcissism. Our current leadership in Washington believes that empathy is a weakness and that our nation stands supreme and alone. Add to that, everyone here today has a phone in their pocket that is algorithmically programmed to celebrate you and you alone by making you the protein-maxing hero of your own special journey. Much has been written about how isolated and siloed we've become, but for me, the antidote is quite simple. By de-emphasizing what makes us special, in your case, a prize degree, we can really find one another, not as an exercise in virtue, but as a path towards greater laughter, love, and real growth. And believe me, I struggle daily with my own pretensions. I am aware that I am telling you to transcend your glories as I stand on this stage, accepting a doctorate I didn't really earn, while dressed like a 12th century pope. Big surprise, I have a giant ego. I mean, come on, the titles of my shows have been A Late Night with Conan O'Brien, The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, Conan, where did I think of that one? Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and Conan O'Brien Must Go. I fought like hell to have today's ceremony named Conan O'Brien Presents the Harvard Commencement starring Conan O'Brien. Yeah, let's get that done. So when I realized that my message today would be about the rejection of honor and status, can I consider for a second turning this doctorate down? Did I say, no, President Garber, my achievements are not my own. I must decline. Hell no! Not for a second. My grandfather, who everyone called Hoofer, and who had to drop out of the 7th grade to support his parents, was a traffic cop in Worcester, Massachusetts. Yeah, and he had a saying, take what you can get and ask for more. Very wise man. Hoofer is an essential passenger in my clown car of multitudes. And in his honor, I will grab this doctorate and then ask President Garber if there's also a cash component. You see, I, like you, am still very much a work in progress. But the ideals I stressed today have made my life infinitely richer and happier. So maybe my wish for you is not that Harvard becomes the last thing people know about you, but instead that Harvard becomes the least important thing people know about you. Because your real education starts now, with friends you've made and friends you've yet to meet, with stunning successes and miserable defeats, and with a humble acceptance that your greatness comes from the mess around you, not despite it. From the depths of my heart, I congratulate you, class of 2026, not for any piece of paper you received today, but because of your hard work, determination, humanity, and the boundless community that you have and will create. Let us all resolve on this great day to go forward together and see Toy Story 5 in theaters everywhere, June 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Brien, for your inspiring words and for the privilege of your presence with us today. Please rise as the commencement choir leads us in the singing of Fair Harvard. Please remain standing as the Pusey minister pronounces the benediction. The commencement exercises then being ended, the Sheriff of Middlesex County will declare the meeting adjourned. The audience is requested to remain in place until the platform party has recessed.
Festival It is my privilege now to conclude our morning exercises with a blessing. In its ancient roots, a blessing is not a spell of protection. It is an act of recognition. A blessing does not confer goodness. It acknowledges and honors goodness. A blessing is a way of seeing. Harvard class of 2026, you have come to us from around the globe. You have come through strife and grief and uncertainty and upheaval to arrive here. And through all of that, in spite of all of that, you have accomplished so much, done so much good. Good for one another, good for us, good for the world. No one is perfect, not even at Harvard, and neither are any of you. But if Harvard accomplishes good things for this world, it's because you do. If Harvard is great, it's because you are great. It's because of you. Because you are a blessing. So, on behalf of everyone who loves you, on behalf of those who crowd this tercentenary theater, and on behalf of all those who weren't able to travel or couldn't get tickets into the yard, on behalf of all those ancestors for whom this moment is an answered prayer, and all those descendants for whom it is a tendered promise, on all of their behalf, and in the ancient spirit of ancient blessing with which we conclude these ancient rites, let me say, bless you. Bless you for all you have worked for. Bless you for all you have stood for. Bless you for who you have been to one another. Bless you for who you have been to us. Now, I might stop here, and maybe I should. It's been a long morning. But I can't stop here because you can't stop here either. There are still trials you must face. There is still good you have to do. It's the old cliche of commencement. This is only the beginning. Because despite all you've already done and all you've already been through, you cannot stop now. Because now, more than ever, the world needs you. Class of 2026, it is easy to look beyond this yard, to look beyond this place and see a range of threats and dangers. Dangers to the world, dangers to this republic, dangers to this university, dangers to many of us, dangers to many of you. But between all of that we see out there and all of this, we see you. Between all of that and all of this, we see who you have been. We see who you might become. We see the good you have done. We see the good that you might yet do. Blessing is a way of seeing. We see you, and we've seen what you can do. Now go and do it. Class of 2026, go in peace with all of our blessings. Amen.
As the High Sheriff of Middlesex County, I declare that the meeting will be adjourned.